May 20th, 2021 School Board meeting of the Pleasanton Unified School District. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 1921, huh? All right. So just a couple of introductions tonight. Welcoming very shortly, we will be able to be back in person with you all at our board meetings, but as of tonight, we are still being sent out over Zoom. To my right is Dr. David Haglund, our superintendent. I'm Joan Larson. I am serving as the president this year. To my left is Vice President Mark Miller, Trustee Steve Maher, Trustee Kelly McCaughey, Trustee Mary Jo Carrion, and with us in the room we have Assistant Superintendent Dr. Janelle Woodward, Assistant Superintendent Mr. Ed Dialazzo of Student Support Services, Mr. Julio Hernandez, our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, Ahmad Shikalosami, our Assistant Superintendent of Business Services, and Mr. Patrick Gannon, who is our Coordinator of Communication and Community Engagement. So tonight, we have some exciting news to, excuse me, sorry, I have a tickle. We have some action items out of closed session, and one of those is the appointment of our Assistant Director for Clinical Services, Ms. Charmaine Wood. We're so glad to welcome you to our district. Is she with us this evening? Mr. Gannon, is she joining us this evening? Well, if she comes in, just let me know. I'd love to introduce her to the community. I'll go on to our other public employee appointment, 2.1.3. This is our Vice Principal of Fairlands Elementary School, Ms. Casey Woldhuis.
Hi there. Thank you guys so much. I'm so thankful and excited for this opportunity to continue working with my Fairlands family in this new capacity and supporting our district's overall impact for all learners. Thanks guys so much for having me.
We're so excited. Thank you so much. Yes, and if Charmaine comes in, please let me know and we'll stop what we're doing and welcome her. I also have two other items to report out of closed session. On item 2.3.1, on closed session item, the board voted 5-0 and moved by Trustee Miller and seconded by Trustee McCaughey to approve a compromise and release agreement for internal case number SED 160.20.21 for the amount not to exceed $37,988. On item 2.3.2, closed session, the board voted 5-0, moved by Trustee Carrion and seconded by Trustee McCaughey, to approve a compromise and release agreement for internal case number SED 170.20.21 for the amount not to exceed $58,518. And that is all of the action out of closed session. Yes. Wonderful. Ms. Wood, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm excited to get to know everybody and work for this community. Thank you.
Welcome, welcome. So happy to have you. All right. So now we're going to move on to approval of the agenda. We have a couple of changes this evening. Item 2.1.1 was pulled. And then we'll come back to us at a future date. And also, we are pulling item 12.4. The board has requested some additional information, and the staff will bring that item back in a presentation at a board meeting in the near future. So those two items are changed. Are there any other changes that the board has for the agenda this evening?
That's what I was going to request for 12.4, so thank you.
You're welcome. So we have a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Make a motion.
Second.
Oh, that's right. I can't just say all in favor. Sorry. Trustee Carrion.
Aye.
Trustee McCashie.
Aye.
Maher. Miller.
Aye.
Larson, aye. Thank you. All right. Moving on to item number 6 is our recognitions and introductions. And tonight we are recognizing the community of character trait of integrity. Mr. Dialazo.
Thank you, President Larson, and good evening, Dr. Haglin, Board of Trustees, staff, and community. So we're always very excited to introduce and recognize several of our students who we want to give the award tonight from the Community Character Program. And actually tonight we have a couple of students under the character trait of respect and also integrity. So my apologies, Trustee Larson, for that. Throughout the year, we recognize students during the board meeting who demonstrate one of the 6 identified community character traits. The traits include compassion, honesty, respect, responsibility, integrity, and self-discipline. This evening, we're recognizing students who were nominated by school staff for demonstrating the character trait of respect and the character trait of integrity. We want to thank our students for their hard work at school and outstanding character. Tonight, award winners are being recognized from Vintage Hills, Leidixson, Donlin, Hart, and Village High School. And I want to introduce our student board member, Carlisa Bass, from Middle College, who will read the nominations of our students. And students, just a reminder, when Carlisa reads your award and your name, please say thank you or hello so that we can see your face on Zoom. So Carlisa, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Dialazo. First, we would like to recognize 3 students from Vintage Hills who are being recognized for the character trait of respect. First up is Avery Schober in the 1st grade, who was nominated by Mrs. Bull. Avery is an exemplary 1st grade student. He demonstrates respect in many ways.
Thank you.
Avery uses good manners, is kind and helpful to his peers and teacher, and always brings an enthusiastic attitude to school. Avery is very considerate of other people's feelings and shows a mature understanding of how people's differences make them special. Avery, continue being the awesome kid you are.
Thank you.
Next, we have Colette Wu in the 3rd grade, who is nominated by Mrs. Daz. Colette is the epitome of a respectful student. She treats her teachers and classmates with kindness and thoughtfulness. She gives her best efforts on all she does and shows her dedication to learning through quality work and meaningful participation. This shows she respects the efforts her teachers make to engage students in lessons. Despite her working from home independently as a remote learner, she always has a positive attitude and brings this to the class. It has been a pleasure to teach her this year.
I really appreciate being here, so thank you so much.
Next, for Vintage Hills, we have Trey Dokas from the 5th grade, and he was nominated by Mrs. Biles. Trey has been in my class for the last 2 years, and he has always gone out of his way to show respect to his classmates and teachers. Trey thinks of others before making decisions and is a great friend to many in our class. The following students...
Thank you so much.
Go ahead. The following students are being recognized for the character trait of integrity. First, we would like to recognize 2 students from Leidixson Elementary. Zayed Ashraf from the 5th grade was nominated by Mrs. Lawrence. Zayed is a hardworking, responsible, and demonstrates perseverance and integrity every day. He always comes to class with a positive attitude and gives his best to whatever he does. Zayed is kind, considerate, and helpful towards his peers and teachers. Congratulations to Zayed on a well-deserved award, and many more in the future. We will miss him here at Leidixson. Next, we have Arun Dronamaju from the 5th grade, who is nominated by Mrs. Sarais. Arun just demonstrates integrity through his participation as a Lancer newscaster. Arun reads his news script in a clear and professional way, and it is obvious he spends time rehearsing and preparing. The way he conducts himself in front of the camera shows that Arun values the experience and takes seriously the messages he shares with the Lancer community. Arun is a great example of integrity for students and staff at Leidixson.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Next, we would like to recognize 4 students from Donlin Elementary. First up, we have Claire Broquette and Harper Goodell from the 4th grade, who are nominated by Mr. Mahoney. When asked about students who model integrity, I immediately thought of Claire and Harper. They are both always doing the right thing. During these times of remote learning, they have worked so hard, so well together, and they are always on task. They also have the courage to step outside the box in their learning, presenting their understanding in unique ways that have never been done before. Take care and stay well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we have Grace Coe from the 5th grade, who is nominated by Miss Shushel. Grace is always doing the right thing and being honest, not because she wants the recognition or attention, but simply because it is the right thing to do and she knows it. I can always count on Grace to participate in class discussions, be a class leader, turn in her work on time with her best effort, and to be my virtual assistant. I know she will always take these skills and many more to middle school next year and be extremely successful. Congratulations on a fantastic school year, Grace. Next, for Donlin, we have Adelaide Rampton from the 5th grade, who was nominated by Mrs. Pollock. Adelaide is such a reliable student. I can count on her to not only do her work, but to do it with effort and pride. Adelaide is a positive influence in our classroom and a role model to her peers. She helps remind me of any changes needed in our classroom and does this respectfully and sincerely. Adelaide is a model of a student with integrity. At the middle school level, we will be recognizing 3 students from Hart. First, we have Victor Ramirez from the 6th grade, who was nominated by Mrs. Langer. Victor would be the students that comes to my mind when it comes to integrity. Victor is always upfront about his work and his needs. He is dependable and always puts forth his best effort. He is first to step up and answer questions that come from anyone in the class. He actively listens to others in class and supports their ideas. He is a fantastic member of any group activity. His honesty and integrity shines through on a daily basis with adults and students in his presence. Next, we have Macy Ulrich from the 7th grade, who was nominated by Mrs. Alcorn. Macy has gone above and beyond this year, and I'm happy to nominate her for May's Integrity Award. Macy's persistence and growth this year has been inspiring. She has continually challenged herself and sought help when struggling. She is honest and clear about her needs and advocates for herself in an incredibly meaningful and mature way. We are lucky to have Macy at Hart, and I've been so lucky to have her as my student this past year.
Thank you.
Next for Hart, we have Ashlyn Peltez from the 8th grade, who was nominated by Mrs. Maker. Ashlyn is an amazing art student who exemplifies all of the Hart Husky pride qualities, including integrity. Ashlyn always provides honest, caring, and positive support to all the students and teachers in art class. In the chats, during art critiques, and during class discussions, Ashlyn is an outstanding artist and positive, kind, and supportive student and person. Students like Ashlyn Peltez help to make our district the positive community of character that we strive to be.
Thank you.
Lastly, for this evening, we are excited to recognize Courtney Farmer from Village, grade 11. Courtney was nominated by all of her teachers at Village. Courtney Farmer is an old soul in a high schooler's body. Her efforts to ensure the well-being of her peers exist both in and outside of the classroom. She is honest with her teachers about how she feels on sensitive topics, as well as makes room to listen with an open mind to the voices of her peers. Courtney is hardworking and has overcome many challenges to be a successful student, and she is still enthusiastic about learning. Courtney is someone that you can depend on. Her ability to relate to others puts her classmates at ease, and she has the rare ability to make your classroom and our campus feel like a community. Her ability to forge meaningful relationships to everyone makes people of all walks of life connected and welcome.
Thank you. I really tried my best.
We are so proud of our award winners. Thank you for joining us this evening. At this time, I would like to throw it back to Mr. Dialazzo.
All right. Thank you so much, Carlisa. You did such a great job. And how about a hand for all of our students? All right, students, thank you for joining us tonight, and we will be sending you your certificate in the mail. I know you might have homework and other things to do, so please feel free to sign off. Congratulations again. Thank you.
And I needed to say, and my apologies when I was making our introductions, Our student board member, Carlissa Brass, who you just heard from Middle College, normally would be sitting up here with us. When I went around the room, I neglected to call her out on Zoom, but we will hear from her shortly during the student board member report time period. So now we will move on to 6.2. Dr. Haglund, this is recognition of our high school valedictorians and salutatorians.
That's right. Thank you, President Larson. Each year, there are many honors bestowed during graduation time. Tonight, we're pleased to introduce and celebrate the valedictorians and salutatorians of the class of 2021. These students have worked tirelessly over the last 4 years and displayed true resilience this past year. I'd like to introduce Principals Josh Butterfield and Sebastian Bull to announce this year's student scholars.
Thank you very much, Dr. Haglund. Over at Amador Valley, we're very excited to recognize our salutatorian and valedictorian this year. We'll start with our salutatorian first. She's well known by cabinet and school board members because she shares the stage with you up there from time to time, every couple months. So our salutatorian at Amador Valley this year is Rachel Zhang. So Rachel Zhang is graduating Amador Valley with a GPA of 4.54. And next year, she's going to be attending the University of Pennsylvania and thinking political science right now. I can see her with a career in that path, but she's going to wait and see how the first couple years go. At Amador, she's been involved with our speech and debate club and been the club president and supported students that are going to state and national competitions. She's served on our school site council, and of course, she's been a student representative for the Pleasanton Unified Board of Trustees. Rachel spends a lot of time giving back to both the school and community, and she's been a wheelchair foundation ambassador over the past 4 years, where they raise money to send wheelchairs to developing countries and also raise awareness about global status of mobility. So please join me in congratulating Rachel Zhang.
Thank you.
And for Amador Valley's valedictorian this year, I'd like to introduce Jocelyn Zhu. Jocelyn is going to be attending a little school called MIT over in Boston this next fall, where she's going to start her pathway in computer science and nuclear science and engineering. Jocelyn has graduated Amador with a GPA of 4.56 and has really accomplished a lot on campus well beyond academics. She's published research in machine learning applications to medicine, and she's involved with equalizing opportunities for women in STEM, where she works closely with the Step Up Club here at Amador. She plays violin and volleyball, and she also helped organize our TEDx event over at Amador Valley. Hopefully some of you got to see that. It was a pretty amazing event. And she's very proud of her work, working with the Happy Period Club, which works to destigmatize menstruation and package and distribute menstrual hygiene kits to underserved communities throughout the Bay Area. So Jocelyn not only excels academically, but really gives all of herself back to the community around her and to support those around her. And we're incredibly proud of Jocelyn's accomplishments and proud to have her represent Amador Valley High School as our valedictorian.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sebastian Bull, the principal at Foothill High School. Thank you, Mr. Butterfield, for taking the lead there. I get the honor of introducing two fine students from Foothill High School. I'll start first with our salutatorian. Let me introduce Kiran Suresh, who is of course, a senior, our salutatorian at Foothill High School. He's planning to attend UC Berkeley in the fall and going to major in computer science and statistics. Some pretty easy subjects, if you ask me. No problem, Kiran, you got it. Overall cumulative GPA is a 4.5. And the past 4 years, he's been involved in a lot of things at Foothill High School. He's been part of the Foothill Speech and Debate Club. He's been the president this past year. He's played on the varsity tennis for the past few years. And he's also the last few summers been working at local rehabilitation centers to create therapies for aphasia patients. So he goes beyond just the school himself and works in the community. Other things in terms of volunteering, he started the Speak Out Foundation, which is a nonprofit during his freshman year to teach public speaking. I can't even speak. public speaking skills. I need your help, Karan. Public speaking skills to Bay Area youth, and have been doing that and having fun doing that ever since. And for personal hobbies, he loves basketball. A little note he put in there was go Suns, but that's dangerous here, Karan, in the Bay Area. But and he likes to play with his brothers whenever he has free time. So please join me in congratulating Karan as our salutatorian from Foothill High School.
Thank you.
And to introduce our valedictorian from Foothill High School, let me introduce Nicholas Young. Nicholas also will be attending Berkeley in the fall. A little competition there between these two, again, fine students. Double major in computer science and possibly something in humanities like philosophy. So those go really well together, computer science and philosophy. I like the meshing of those two. That's a pretty interesting idea. Also, cumulative GPA is 4.5. These two were very close in terms of their GPAs, and they are both stellar young men and will represent Foothill with pride and PUSD in the future. In terms of passions, he has a passion in entrepreneurship and research. He's the co-founder of Odyssey, which is an online platform that simulates speech therapy for people who stutter. And he has additionally conducted research in object detection to explore the field of artificial intelligence. He's the founder of the Learn Python, a Dublin-based after-school coding program, and also the head coach for the PMS Math Counts program. And in terms of hobbies, he loves hiking and reading, and he's also an amateur juggler. So both of these young men are fantastic people, not only in the classroom, but also beyond. And please help me in congratulating Nick and Karan from Foothill High School. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well done, all of you. We're really proud of the hard work you've put in, and we look forward to seeing what you do in the future as you go out and make this world a better place.
Yeah, that was amazing. And I have to say to you, as much as it was wonderful to hear about you and to hear about your accomplishments, I miss having you here in the boardroom with us, where we can actually, interface a little bit more directly and congratulate you with a warm handshake, and congratulations. I know we'll be hearing more from you in the future, and I look forward to that. Dr. Hagelin, we have 6.3, a recognition of our student board members.
Here we go. Amador Valley, Foothill, and Village High School, as well as Middle College, are represented at each regular board meeting by one student board member and one alternate who serves in their absence. These young leaders dedicated many hours providing critical input during board discussions, as well as sharing news and events as representatives to the board from their schools. Students are the heart of everything that we do, and we are grateful to our student board members for helping us to ensure that student voices are heard at each of our regular board meetings. It's my pleasure to thank Amador Valley High School board member Rachel Zhang and Grace Chen, Foothill High School student board member Mahi Patil and Sachi Bayani, Middle College student board member Clarissa Bass, who's with us tonight, and Village High School student board member Brian Glasgow. Patrick, are they all with us tonight?
Most of them are. I was just looking at the attendees.
Maybe we can give them a minute or two to say something. Anybody, Rachel or Grace, Samahi, Sachi, Clarissa, or Brian, if you'd like to say something, we'd love to hear from you.
I could say a few words.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's honestly truly been an honor to be a part of the board this year. It was a wonderful learning experience to me, and I hope to see you guys all next year.
Anybody else out there?
Yeah, I'll go next.
Go for it.
I just want to say, and I wish I could have said this a little bit earlier, but I'm so grateful for everything that this district has done for me in terms of just opportunities and memories. And I think the one thing that I'll really miss about this district is how willing they are to work with students and listen to student voice. And I feel I can be so excited about the future now because I was given so many opportunities to learn and grow about myself over the past 4 years. So thank you.
No, thank you, Rachel.
Just to build off of Rachel, I would also kind of want to echo that and say the same exact thing. I'm really grateful for the opportunities Pleasanton Unified has provided for students in terms of civic participation. I think taking Gov and being on Comp Civics this year has really taught me the importance of civics and being participatory in civics, such as Ms. Sklar and Mr. Weaver always helping me out. So I'm really glad that I've been able to kind of apply what I've learned in Gov and Comp Civics over into kind of the education policy aspect of serving on the student board. Although I wasn't able to do much as an alternate, I did make many public comments this year, and I'm really grateful that the board was able to listen to them. And I continue to hope to make public comments throughout the summer. Thank you.
Anybody else out there? Well, we're going to hear from Carlissa in just a little bit. So let's go ahead and say one more time, say thank you for everything.
All right. Next, we have item 6.4, which is recognition of the Pleasanton New Teacher Project induction graduates.
Thank you very much. We're going to, for that presentation, we're going to introduce Kim Ortiz.
Thank you. Good evening, President Larson and Board of Trustees, Dr. Haglin, and cabinet colleagues, as well as our community. My name is Kim Ortiz, and I'm a director in the HR department, and we are excited to present a recognition of our candidates who have graduated from this 2-year induction program, which is the pathway for clearing a credential in California. We have 32 graduates this evening, and becoming a teacher is really a 6 to 7 year professional learning journey, similar to a medical residency model. These teachers started teaching during a pandemic and continued navigating the many twists and turns this year. So we'd like to get started and first recognize Mr. Daniel Elliott from Alisal. One more, thank you, Patrick, as well as Maureen Millerick at Donlin, and Sandy. We would like to also recognize Kelly Briggs from Fairlands. We've been recognizing the teachers in their classrooms in front of their students, and we've been capturing quotes throughout the last couple of weeks where students have been talking about what they appreciate about their teacher, what they've learned this year that they may not have known when they first arrived. Next. And Katie Matson, one of our Fairland Flyers, is graduating. And then we have Taylor Newman, another Fairlands Flyer. Megan Soldati, another Fairlands Flyer. And Emily Savikas, our science teacher at Hearst. Miss Rebecca Lawrence from Leidixon. And Megan Nash, also from Leidixon. Joining the Leidixon crew is Laura Burton, who's graduating this year. And Sophia Castaneda from Moore will be graduating this year. Shannon Rinker joins the Moore crew. Jackie from Vintage Hills is graduating as well this year. And Jordan Sanji from Vintage Hills, our PE coach. And Sandra Lim, one of our math teachers from Hart Middle School. And Andrew Liu, our music teacher, both at Hart and Harvest Park. And Chase Weiss from Harvest Park is graduating this year. Miss Chelsea Blay at Amador Valley, and Linda Hammervold, who teaches math at Amador, and Timothy Sakagawa, who also is at Amador, and Eric Watkins, who teaches world history, civics, and AVID at Amador. Gianna Bain at Foothill is also graduating, and Daryl Crookston, who teaches health at Foothill. And Nicole Santisteven from Foothill, and Nick Mendonca, who teaches math at Foothill. Stephanie Vosica at Foothill is also graduating, and Nam Chi Vu at Foothill. Mr. Ryan Hughes, who teaches PE at Village, Leidixon, and Vintage Hills, is also graduating this year. And Lisa Sullivan, one of our colleagues from Sunol Glen, who was part of the program, is graduating. We'd like to thank, these are our coaches, Julie Twisselman, Laura Stang, Sarah Landis, Eric Little, and Kim Kelton, for all of their support. They've been congratulating and recognizing in the classroom, and the team is proud of you. And finally, we'd like to thank our Board of Trustees and the Pleasanton community in supporting our teachers, who in turn support our students. So congratulations to the class of 2020-2021. We appreciate you, and we're always here, even though you're graduating from our program. Thank you.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah, good stuff.
Good stuff. Welcome to those teachers who are remaining with us and who have cleared their credentials and graduated from our induction program. That's awesome. Now we'll move on to our associations, where we will hear from the leaders of our employee associations. And first up, we have Michelle Verkeilen from the Association of Pleasanton Teachers.
Good evening, President Larson, members of the board, Dr. Haglund, members of the cabinet, and our community. I am Michelle Verkeilen, President of the Association of Pleasanton Teachers. First off, all my shout outs for the evening. To our classified partners, you are the best. You truly lighten our loads, beautify our workspaces, and make coming to work more enjoyable. Thank you for all that you do. You are definitely appreciated by your APT partners. Congratulations to all our senior students. All of APT wishes all of you the greatest next steps in your life journeys. To our new teacher project induction graduates, we are so glad you have joined and stayed with us here in Pleasanton. Your freshness and excitement re-energizes us. We love working alongside you. To our APT retirees, I want to let you know, all know just how much your work has meant to your students, their families, and your colleagues. You have left a beautiful lasting mark on each of those lives you have touched. We will miss you and the difference you make each and every day. Cheers. Here's to a marvelous retirement adventures. On a more serious note, this year has taken a toll on public education. Many have rethought their life priorities, have weighed their perceived value as an educator, and have realized that their life's passion is given little due by their employer. A dichotomy exists between the words spoken encouraging mental health and wellness, while at the same time being asked to do more, be more efficient, and learn new ways to reach our learners. This school year, educators had to engage in extensive and unparalleled preparation in order to transition between educational platforms. By way of illustration and not limitation, this includes recreation of lesson plans and educational environments consistent with technology-based learning. As educators reflect and prepare for the 21-22 school year, this will require extensive and distinct one-time preparation related to the advancements of students to the next grade. This includes the unique identification of students with learning loss, the need for supplemental instruction support, learning recovery support, and social emotional support for identified students. Pleasanton students deserve the best, and our educators deserve credit for providing the high level of education PUSD prides itself on. That credit needs to come with more than just words of appreciation and reminders to take care of ourselves, but with actions that provide a fair return for the work that we have done and continue to do. We are hopeful that the recent stakeholder survey will yield positive outcomes, and the data collected will be reviewed thoroughly to ensure all voices will be heard. As we continue to move forward with bargaining, we are optimistic with the state's budget that prioritizes education and supports our staff and our Pleasanton students. Because as you know, Pleasanton students deserve the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. And now we will hear from the California School Employees Association. Mr. Derek Pizarros, the president, is absent this evening, but in his stead, we'll hear from Laura Martinez. Laura, are you with us this evening?
Thank you, President Larson. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. Okay. Thank you, President Larson. I am Laura Martinez, the Chief Steward of Pleasanton Chapter 155. I bring you this message from CSCA President Derek Pizarros. Good evening, President Larson, Board of Trustees, Dr. Haglund, Cabinet, and the greater Pleasanton community. First, I want to give a shout out to all our classified staff during Classified School Employee Week. We truly have a dedicated, hardworking classified group, and I sincerely thank you all for the work you have done this year. Congratulations to our retirees who will be leaving us. We thank you for your service. This year began in uncertainty, fear, and chaos. In spite of this darkness, cooperation between educators, management, and classifiers, if they couldn't attend, and supported Pleasanton families, minds, and spirits. Tonight, we look to close out 2021's academic year calendar with optimism. Everyone in attendance and listening can be proud of this. The challenges to chapter members were unique. We had to navigate, coordinate communication, provide tech support, and help meet IEP goals among our most vulnerable students. Working with our great teachers and management to tackle this is our greatest success this year. Meanwhile, as this was all happening, we were also trying to negotiate against a nearly decade-long trend of diminishing compensation relative to our coworkers within PUs with other districts. To give some perspective, Pleasanton Unified has allowed classified staff to drift closer and closer to minimum wage rather than keep pace with the once held accolade of a ranking in the 75th We are currently that has with little movement in district contribution. In a vacuum, we know this happens. We know times can be tough and that we must take else when everyone else does. Over the last few years, though, we have been seeing downtown swell both in numbers of management positions and in elevation of their titles and subsequent salaries. We've seen district outsource our jobs to contractors at multiple times the rate that our staff makes because we can't settle on higher compensation to attract those contractors to work for us. When we engage, we hear the same cycle repeat. Wait for the proposed budget in January. Wait for the May revise. Wait for June. Wait until the end of this emergency. Wait until we finish negotiating this other thing. Sorry, there's no money now to wait for the proposed budget. We can't wait any longer. We know that the school district need to submit their proposed budget soon. There are no dates scheduled to finish negotiating our contract that is a year past due, and if we wait until fall, the money will have already been allocated and will be asked to wait yet again. Projected finances have never been better. If classified staff can't make it to the top of the priority list now, we fear we never will. Many members have asked to speak tonight to celebrate their accomplishments and contributions and lament the breakdown in communication. I hope they come with constructive input and that the board and the community hear a perspective they have not yet heard, and that we can get back to the table and settle this with a sense of urgency. I want to thank our members for their hard work, the teachers for their support, management for their leadership, and those in attendance tonight. Stronger Together is California School Employees Association slogan, but it includes your support too. And that is the end of his message. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you, Laura. At this time, we will open it up for public comment for items that are not on our agenda this evening. Mr. Gannon, do we have public comment?
We do indeed. So we had a couple submitted for item 12.4, which was pulled. So just in case they're in the room, I'll first call Cal Chrome, then Johanna and Chris Ota, and then Janine Madison. Okay, we'll move on. So, Johanna and Chris Ota. All right, we'll keep going. Janine Madison.
Good evening, President Larson, members of the board, Dr. Haglund, Cabinet, and Pleasanton community. My name is Janine Madison, and I want to wish my fellow classified workers happy Classified Appreciation Week. Thank you, colleagues, who were first in the front lines and worked tirelessly during this unprecedented school year, feeding our students and families, assisting students and exhausted teachers with Chromebooks and technology support, cleaning our campuses, working with our students in the height of the pandemic without vaccinations, and to everybody who has pivoted to keep our students safe and able to access learning. We did this because our students deserve the best. As Dr. Haglund stated, classified staff were the true heroes of 2020. I am proud to be part of this staff, but after such a monumental year, I have to say I am frustrated. Unfortunately, our members have been working under an expired contract this school year, and we have been negotiating with integrity since October of 2020. We have attempted to work with PUSD and have been insulted over and over with tight purse strings while new management positions were created at an alarming rate with high salaries, while many classified positions remain vacant because we are not competitive compared to other districts. PUSD used to be in the 75th percentile in regards to offering a competitive compensation package and a desired district to work in. Even with last year's CTC study, we are still below the 45th percentile. Our lowest paid position used to be around 51% from minimum wage, and in 8 years, it's gone down to 6%. Vacancies continue to grow along with contracting out of our classified work, costing the district even more money. This will continue if we do not become more competitive. Classified staff has been the glue that holds things together, keeps our campuses safe, and the district office running so smoothly every day. Just like we strive for equity for all of our students in Pleasanton, I want equity for all of my fellow colleagues. PUSD, I ask you to please revisit your budgets and consider the heroes of 2020. Thank you.
All right, next we will have Heather Brillhart.
Thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. My name is Heather Brillhart. I've lived in Pleasanton for 20 years, had 2 children educated through the district, and have worked for the district in some capacity for almost 16 years. I've been at my current position almost 8 years. Dr. Haglin has said that classified staff were the true heroes of 2020. We haven't been treated that way, though. We were asked to wait on reclassification for the CTC study. It didn't work out, and we were given less than was recommended. We were asked to hold off on contract negotiations because of the pandemic. We were compelled to go back to work in the fall for cohorts, even though all the safety mitigation had not been in place. We were not appropriately compensated for the risks that we took. Right now, we still don't have a contract. The initial offer was inappropriate, nowhere near acceptable, and we deserve better than that. Please come to the negotiation table in good faith. We need and deserve your support. To the teachers, parents, students, and community at large, please also voice your support on behalf of classified staff. Thank you and have a good evening.
All right, next will be Linda Pipe, followed by Adrian Hers, and then Alexander No.
Good evening. My name is Linda Pipe, and I'm one of those 500 plus PUSD classified employees being recognized this week by Dr. Haglin as one of the purveyors of hope who welcomed our students back to campus during a pandemic. One of those 500 plus CSEA members who feel that none of this is truly sincere. When the CTC study was conducted 2 years ago, we naively thought the district cared that we were sorely underpaid. We were wrong. We believe that when Mr. Hernandez said there was money put aside to correct 20 years of neglect, and then at the last possible minute, we were told the entire body of work we had spent countless hours working out had to fit into the 2.5 Me Too amount, forcing us to either throw away over a year's worth of work and return to 1990s or cause a rift in our membership with some members getting nothing. Recently, HR stonewalled CSEA on a salary proposal that Mr. Hernandez encouraged us to put forward to square the salary table and give much deserved increases to CSEA employees in order to bring our district up to the 75th percentile we used to enjoy. The district sat on it for 3 weeks, long enough to run out the year and then cry lack of money, even though the May revise says something very different. It's frustrating, to say the least, when the district refuses to negotiate in good faith. Where does the actual disinterest sit, though? Is it because PUSD HR places so little value on CSEA that it isn't worth negotiating in good faith? Or is the board lying as they claim to appreciate CSEA contribution, but are telling Mr. Hernandez in closed session that we aren't worth being given living wages? Resolutions about classified school employee weeks, insincere verbal acknowledgments, paper certificates similar to those given to a kindergartner, and ice cream tokens from the dairy are an insult and certainly do not pay the bills. Thank you.
Right, next we'll have Adrian Hers, followed by Alexander No, and then Cheryl Azelton.
Good evening, President Larson, Board of Trustees, Dr. Haglin, Assistant Superintendents, and community members. My name is Adrienne Hertz, and I have been a PUSD classified employee since 2008. I would like to speak to you tonight about a word that is used daily in our school district, at board meetings, in all of our departments at the district office, and at all of our school sites: equity. It's a good word. It's a lofty word. It's a word that begs for commitment and applies to everyone. In fact, equity guides many of our board policies, procedures, and intentions. Tonight, I'm wondering when equity will be applied to the classified employees in our district. We have been verbally thanked for all that we do on a daily basis as an integral part of the PUSD system. We've been told many times by many people that we are the backbone of the schools. And yesterday we received a lovely email from Dr. Haglin that starts with this. Over the past year, there has been a team of individuals who have showed up for our community during our greatest time of need. PUSD classified employees have truly been there for our students, our families, and our broader community, serving as purveyors of hope. From child nutrition services employees who started serving our community daily with food starting over a year ago, to our custodians who have cleaned, disinfected, and set up air purifiers all over campuses daily since last spring, to our paraeducators who were the first ones back on campus to work with our vulnerable students in person, to our health services assistants who greeted students, took their temperatures, and welcomed sick students into their health offices. We were there on the job, doing what we do best, taking care of business. If the us in PUSD truly includes the classified staff, then it's long past time for equity to be applied to us as well. Equity in pay, equity in respect, equity in communication, equity in follow-through, and equity in negotiations. I urge the board to ensure that its classified staff is treated with as much equity as you pride yourselves with treating the rest of our community. Thank you.
All right, next we'll have Alexander No, followed by Cheryl Azelton, and then finally Brad Zakrzewski.
Hi. I would like to start by thanking the board for taking the time to understand the issues surrounding the closure of the Horizon Early Education Center, and I would respectfully ask that the Horizon parents be included in all future discussions surrounding Horizon prior to the next presentation by the administration. District-run early education programs like Horizon bring tremendous value to the communities they serve. These programs exist across the country and are highly sought after by parents who value high-quality early education services, especially given the limited supply. They do not represent a district stepping outside its K-12 mandate, but rather bridge that unnecessary divide between birth to 5 versus K-12 in support of our youngest children. The value Horizon delivers to this community is evidenced by the long wait list, 17 paying families and counting, and stellar reputation it has earned in its short existence. Ending this young program now would squander the opportunity for Pleasanton Unified School District to be a leader in this space and help fill the void of high-quality early education programs in the area. Additionally, Horizon is already well known by young families throughout the community as a top-notch educational program with a broader mission to serve the community. Horizon embodies the cradle-to-career education of all infants and toddlers at Pleasanton Unified School District, with a unique focus on supporting teen parents in the district. This directly supports the district's mission to provide equitable opportunities for all students. Furthermore, the exceptional director and highly qualified staff have extensive knowledge of early interventions like occupational, speech, and physical therapy best practices and help guide families to participate in those early in development. By implementing these early prevention efforts, they could be reducing future district expenses for IEPs, therapies, and other expensive Pleasanton Unified School District resources. Given our understanding that Horizon was on track to be self-sustaining prior to the pandemic, we believe it will be able to quickly transition to financial solvency. Please consult the spreadsheet we sent to the board. By serving on the boards of area preschools, some of us have a window into the finances of organizations similar to Horizon, and they are quickly recovering to a break-even point. This trend is being accelerated by increasing child-to-teacher ratios as COVID-19 restrictions are relaxed, greater demand for childcare as parents return to work outside their homes, and parents' prioritization
Thank you,
of
Mr. Nelly.
socioeconomic development
Can
of
you
their
wrap
children.
up your statement, please? Thank you.
All right, next we'll have Cheryl Azelton, and then finally Brad Zakrzewski.
Good evening.
Good evening. Please go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, Board of Trustees and community. Thank you for hearing my concerns. I would like to thank you for postponing this decision. I hope that we have not lost the faith of the community. Right now, we are just a little bit unprepared, or at least I am. It came to a surprise to us that this was even going to be on the board. In September 2018, we started enrolling fee-based community families, although we did not have a contract beyond 8 or a 6-hour day. On March 19th, we were placed under the administration of Kids Club, and we finally got a real start. By March of 2020, we had 18 children enrolled, and then in March to June, we were closed. June we offered a summer essential worker program, and then August we had to completely restart our program with COVID restrictions on group sizing, spacing, cohorts, and shorter programs. 9 months later, here we are in May, we have 17 families that have been served in May. And as of August, our projected enrollment will be 22. And those are people that have confirmed their starts. My questions are, has anyone actively searched for additional funding? Have grant proposals been written? Why are the numbers not shared early on so alternative sources could have been sought? Fees could have been adjusted. I am the one on site every day doing enrollment, and I have never seen the numbers. This program will continue to serve teen parents, at-risk children, offer inclusive care, and support for non-typically developing children. We cannot predict the number of teen pregnancies as high school has not been on campus, nor can we predict the number of children with exceptional needs. But we would have been there for them, to love them, to care for them, and to set them up for the best possible future, because our motto is and always will be, from cradle to career as part of PUSD. Thank you.
Okay, and finally, we'll have Brad Zakarzyski.
Good evening. First, I would like to thank the Board of Trustees for allowing me time to speak this evening. My name is Brad Zakarzyski. I'm a Pleasanton resident, and I'm a parent of 2 boys who have attended and thrived at Horizon. One is currently enrolled in the toddler class. The other is a graduate of both the infant and toddler classes. I just want to take a brief moment to reiterate what the earlier Horizon parents stated and thank the Board of Trustees and members of the administration for taking time this week to read our emails, take our calls, and listen to our message. I'm sure you can tell that we are very passionate about Horizon and its wonderful staff, who are frontline heroes who went to work in person in a pandemic to care for our children who are too young to wear a mask. And I want to specifically thank the Board of Trustees for pulling agenda item 12.4 and requesting more information on this important topic. I also respectfully ask that the parents of Horizon students be involved and engaged in constructive dialogue with the administration leading up to the next presentation to the Board of Trustees. The challenges that face Horizon are not lost on us, and we want to be part of the solution rather than bystanders. We all have the same goal. We want to see Horizon thrive, be financially self-sufficient, and most importantly, see our children thrive. We are committed to working with the administration and the Board of Trustees to find a viable path forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And I believe that concludes our public comment for items not on our agenda this evening. We'll now move on to item 9, which is our student board member report. Carlissa, welcome back.
Good evening, Dr. Haglund, members of the board, executive cabinet, and community. My name is Carlissa Bass, and I have been so happy that I've been able to be the student board representative for the middle college program at Las Positas College. As we wrap up our final year, we are preparing for our college finals, and seniors are finishing up our problem solution research papers and presentations. The topics ranged from mental health in the pandemic to environmental problems. I personally chose to talk about colorism, and some of my other classmates chose to talk about similar topics like representation in the media. Our last unit in AVID is a financial literacy unit, learning about retirement, personal budgeting, savings, and how to do taxes. This section has been a huge help to both my fellow seniors and me as we go off to school, especially with talking about big subjects like how to manage student loans right after graduating. The juniors are finishing up their U.S. history and junior English classes and are also looking towards their college finals. Our juniors, seniors staying at Las Positas College, and our incoming class of 2023 will be registering for their college courses next week. For the month of May, we have had an opportunity to be on campus for students to attend class once weekly. Both juniors and seniors were able to attend classes in person one day out of the week within COVID regulations. I personally went to the senior classes, and it was so nice to be back in the classroom. Our junior class also completed their MAP growth assessments while attending their in-person classes. Coming up, we have a socially distant senior picture event on campus on Friday, May 21st. Students will walk through campus in their cap and gown for photo opportunities. Our middle college class of 2021 virtual celebration will be held on Zoom on Tuesday, June 1st at 7 p.m., and our seniors will also be attending home graduation events as well as any other events that their home high schools will be attending. And I would like to conclude by saying that I've been honored to be able to be the student board representative for the middle college program. I am definitely an advocate of the program, and I encourage anybody who is even slightly interested to join and learn more about it, because it honestly is a great opportunity that is provided by PUSD. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos, and it's been a pleasure to have you serving on our board. It's a great perspective to the bridge that the two environments, what you're still doing on your high school campuses versus what you're doing at Las Positas and middle college, and hearing about that, it only encourages our other students to consider the program. So thank you so much for participating with us this year. We were really happy to have you. And now we'll move on to item number 10, which is our superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Larson. Sorry. As we step into the last week of the school year, we will approach the new year with a wee bit of caution and a much greater sense of hope and purpose. Even now, we are seeing evidence of change. Much like a rainbow after a storm, our community has reached out to celebrate our students. Ribbons are now hanging up and down Main Street, and Todd Uticall is distributing French fries and milkshakes for seniors at Sidetrack. It was a blast to join him for a bit this afternoon and be able to congratulate seniors as they came by for a treat. I want to personally thank Todd and the team at Sidetrack for always being there for our kids. Your partnership means a lot to us all and a great deal to me personally, so thank you, friend. Next week, the senior class of 2021 will walk the stage during an in-person graduation ceremony held in front of their families, peers, and the school community. Similarly, our 5th and 8th graders will celebrate their promotions in person during in-person ceremonies to be held at the comprehensive high schools. While these events will still be a bit different, and the journey to this point has not been what students expected, I'm thrilled that our young people are able to celebrate these milestones which they have worked so hard to attain in person. As we hold on to our hopes for the future that feels a little bit more normal, it's important that we continue to practice safety precautions like wearing masks, physical distancing, and whatnot to ensure these celebrations can move forward as planned and more can come after them. So much has already been said tonight about the efforts of our classified team members. As I have said many times this year, they have in fact been true heroes. And while some may feel my comments are insincere, that could not be further from the truth. I admire each of you, and I'm grateful for your sacrifices on behalf of our students. So thank you. As an example, our Child Nutrition Services team did not miss a day, rain or shine, or wind and smoke, in ensuring students received nutritious meals this past year. And when it came time to begin welcoming our students and teachers back to campus, our classified school employees and administrative staff helped prepare our schools and classrooms for teachers and students to ensure we were consistently following the health and safety guidelines. At our last Board of Trustees meeting, you unanimously passed a resolution recognizing the week of May 17th through the 21st as the Classified School Employees Week. Each of our classified employees have been essential to our ability to serve our families throughout this past year. On behalf of the Board of Trustees and all of us at PUSD, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you for all you've done and will continue to do for our families. Let's give them a round of applause. And that's my comment tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Hagelin. All right. Item 11 is our consent agenda. These are items typically routine in nature that the board votes on in one vote unless there's a reason to pull an item. And tonight I wish to pull item 11.3. Are there any other items to be pulled for discussion this evening? All right, I'll seek a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of 11.3.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda except for 11.3.
Second. Trustee Carrion?
Aye.
McCaughey?
Aye.
Maher?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
Larson, aye. All right, item 11.3. This resolution is to recognize the month of June, as is fairly traditional in many organizations and parts of the country, as the LGBTQ plus Pride Month. This has some special meaning to me. Many of you who know me know that my daughter is gay and came out in high school here at Amador Valley High School. And while she had many, many supportive friends and many supportive teachers and did not experience any undue problems while at Amador, it was not without some challenges. And so I'd like to kick off this resolution and say thank you to our teachers and our classified staff who support our students through some difficult times as they navigate their growing up in high school and spreading their wings off into when they graduate and move on. And so thank you very much for your support of all of our students. So,
President Larson, we do have public comment on this item. Would you like to hear that prior to reading the resolution, or would you like to read the resolution and then listen to public comment?
We'll take public comment. I guess that's fine.
Okay.
All right. First up, we'll have Ms. Donalyn Harris, followed by Shannon Price, and then Lisa Walter.
Good evening. Thank you, Patrick.
Go ahead.
Good evening, Superintendent Hagelin, cabinet members, President Larson, trustees, and all in attendance. My name is Donalyn Harris, and as a longtime Pleasanton resident, past chapter president, and a present director at large of PFLAG Tri-Valley, the biological mom of past and present PUSD kids, and an ally and PFLAG Mama Bear to many, many more, lots of whom belong to the LGBTQ plus community, my heart is bursting at the seams with gratitude today. Thank you for bringing a Pride resolution to the board for discussion this evening. I can't overstate how strongly my family and I support this resolution and how happy and excited we are to see it on tonight's agenda. While Pleasanton is an accepting place full of kind, good-hearted people, and we know that the district's mission is to support all students, passing an official resolution is a powerful statement, leaving none to wonder whether they belong in PUSD. The past several years have been very difficult for our family members who belong to the LGBTQ plus community, especially for the kids. As the Trevor Project notes in its most recent 2021 national survey on LGBTQ youth mental health, negativity and rejection in our society is taking a terrible toll on our kids, with 94% of LGBTQ youth reporting that recent politics negatively impacted their mental health. 75% of LGBTQ youth reported that they'd experienced discrimination based on their sexual orientation or gender identity, and at least once in their lifetime. And 42% of LGBTQ youth seriously considered attempting suicide in the past year, including more than half of transgender and non-binary youth. We have so much work to do to help our kids. You bringing this resolution tonight, just the words alone, is action that helps make the world better and safer for our kids and families. Discrimination and hostility still exist in the world, but today you're letting our kids and community members know that it has no place in PUSD and that all are truly welcomed, accepted, embraced, and celebrated here. This Mama Bear is so grateful for your action today, and I hope we and our kids, families, and Pleasanton community can also see that acceptance and celebration flying with any of the Progress or Philly or Rainbow Pride flags on poles in front of our district offices and schools. Thank you again, and I hope you all enjoy a beautiful June.
All right, next we'll have Shannon Price.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to share. And it's so wonderful that we have this resolution so that all of our kids know that they belong here, regardless of who they are and who they love. The only thing that could make it better is for our kids to see the pride flag flying at our district office and all of our schools, so they know that love is love all across Pleasanton. For the last couple of years, I've been flying the pride flag on my front porch during the month of June to celebrate Pride Month. And I think it's so important to hear and to see our support. Can the resolution be amended to include flying the flag during the month of June? Thank you for this consideration.
All right, next we'll have Lisa Walter, Austin Bruckner, and then Karen Cobb.
Hi, good evening, and thank you all for your dedication and leading with your hearts. My name is Lisa Walter, and I'm a parent of 2 elementary school kids and 1 middle school tween, and I am a fierce ally and advocate for our LGBTQ community. And I'm happy and relieved that so many people in Pleasanton support the local efforts to remind our youth that they are wonderful just as they are. I would love to see the pride flag flying at the district office and in front of schools so kids can see a public, visual reminder that they are loved, supported, and celebrated. It's one thing to tell our LGBTQ kids to be proud of themselves, but the flag flying from the district tells them something else. It tells them something important and powerful. And we can say to them, by flying the flag, we are proud of you for being you. Thank you.
All right, next we'll have Austin Bruckner, followed by Karen Cobb, and then Maddie Gathman.
Good evening, Superintendent, President Larson, and members of the Pleasanton Unified School District Board of Education. My name is Austin Bruckner, and for the past almost decade, I've had the honor and privilege of working with a small group of committed folks that make up our team over in Castro Valley Pride. We hold probably what's one of the only 100% family-friendly LGBTQ Pride events. Takes place in a high school parking lot. I want to go ahead and thank Pleasanton for considering this resolution, but I do want to note one glaring error. I've been working for the past about 2 weeks to organize every school district in Alameda County asking one simple request, that they take up a resolution and that resolution include 2 items. You did the first one, which is the easy one, to declare June Pride Month. But take it a step further. Tell our LGBTQ students and families that they actually matter, that you actually stand with them, that you understand the importance of kids who drive by during summer break when they aren't in a classroom, many of which right now are trapped home in unwelcoming and unsafe environments. Kids that are being forced to go to often unwelcoming and unaffirming churches. They're having unhealthy and scary and frankly deadly conversations at the family dinner table. Give them a sign that says Pleasanton Unified, elected leaders in Pleasanton stand with you, we understand you, we hear you, we love you, and there is nothing wrong with you. So I encourage you to not only pass this resolution, but to make an amendment to include raising the rainbow flags, to join Castro Valley, Hayward, San Lorenzo, New Haven Unified School District. Hopefully this week you'll also be joining Piedmont, Albany, San Leandro, Sonoma Glen, Alameda, and several other school districts that we've had the privilege of working with. Make the amendment. I encourage you. I ask you. Lives depend on it.
All right, next we will have Karen Cobb, then Maddie Gathman, and then finally Elizabeth Lester.
Good evening, Dr. Haglund, Board of Trustees, members of the Executive Cabinet. As Patrick said, my name is Karen Cobb. I'm a teacher here at Pleasanton Middle School, one of the staff advisors for our GSA club, as well as a member of the Tri-Valley PFAG group, a support group for families in our community. I do want to start off by thanking the board for this long-awaited and much appreciated resolution. Our LGBTQ plus and ally community has grown on our campus in the last few years, and I can tell you exactly why that's happened. It's visibility. It's staff wearing t-shirts in support of LGBTQ plus persons. It's having posters in our classrooms letting students know it's okay to be out, to be questioning, to be unsure, or just to be an ally. It's celebrating National Coming Out Day, Day of Silence, and Ally Week. It's not just telling our students that they will be safe on campus, it's showing them. The visibility in our actions normalizes the LGBTQ plus community on our campus and in Pleasanton. Again, I thank you all for this resolution, but my fear is that after tonight, it may not be mentioned again, except in passing. What we need is visibility. We need to see the pride flag flying at the district office and on our school campuses. We need the community to see that Pleasanton Unified stands by our LGBTQ plus students and family members. We need to normalize Pride Month in Pleasanton, and the school district is the place for this to start. Thank you so much for your time.
All right, next we have Maddie Gathman and then Elizabeth Lester.
Hi, my name is Maddie Gathman. I am a teacher at PMS, and I am also an advisor of our GSA at PMS. Thank you so much again for having me. Really excited to be chatting with you guys. I'm so stoked that POSD is recognizing Pride Month. And I think your support could go even further by flying the pride flags at the district and at all of our schools, as well as showing that communication of support in email district-wide to our students by not only showing your support visually and through communication and email. It really shows our entire community that we value all students. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate y'all.
All right, and then finally, Elizabeth Lester.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I apologize for that. Good evening, Superintendent Haglund, cabinet members, President Larson, and trustees. I want to say thank you for bringing a Pride resolution to the board for discussion this evening. My family and I are in overwhelming support of PUSD adopting this resolution. We've lived in Pleasanton for 17 years and have 5 children who have gone through or are currently attending Pleasanton schools. I've served on multiple PTA boards and am currently a PFLAG Tri-Valley board member. Pleasanton has always been known as a community of character. We have been fortunate to witness that character many times in the actions of teachers, counselors, and principals going above and beyond to support our youth that struggle with sexual orientation or gender identity. These are among the most vulnerable youth, as shown by the recent spate of anti-trans legislation and by the devastatingly sad suicide statistics among this group. I am overjoyed that PUSD is demonstrating inclusivity in a formal, meaningful way by adopting this noble pride resolution. And I respectfully ask that you show your inclusivity by flying a flag to that effect on poles in front of our district offices and schools. A flag such as the Pride, Philly, or Progress flag would have a profound impact on all students and show them in a tangible way that they are all seen, supported, welcomed, and celebrated. Thank you.
All right, President Larson, that's our last comment.
Thank you for that public comment. I think that it isn't a, it was perhaps an oversight that we didn't include that. We do have a pride flag here to fly at our district office. Mr. Gannon has it with him, I believe, over at the table there. And that was our plan all along, but you're right, we did not include it in the resolution. Would the board care to make an amendment?
I have a wording that I could suggest.
Please proceed.
Therefore be it resolved, could we amend it to say, therefore be it resolved that the Pleasanton Unified School District hereby declares June 2021 LGBTQ plus Pride Month, proudly flies the pride flag at the district office and at each of our campuses to signify support for the LGBTQ plus community.
I'll second it.
All right, so that's the amendment. So we're going to read the resolution as amended, and then we will vote on it unless there's any other comment or, okay. And we're going to make sure Mark reads the last, therefore. Oh, good, you got it. You've got it written down. Oh, good. Because I wrote something too, but it was in a little bit different order, and I'm like, I don't want to get confused on my reading. So, Dr. Hagelin, would you like to kick it off?
Pleasanton Unified School District Resolution Number 2020-2021.29, LGBTQ plus Pride Month, June 1st through June 30th, 2021. Whereas the strength and richness of our community is in its diversity, the vibrance and character of the Pleasanton Unified School District and the broader community are enhanced by each individual's unique identities, including culture, race, gender, and sexual orientation. And
whereas the Pleasanton Unified School District strategic plan's moral imperatives underscore that all students and staff have the right to a safe and respectful learning environment that fosters positive connections. And
whereas the district's Equity and Diversity Resolution passed on January 12, 2016 states that all staff and students will be provided with the opportunity and education needed to understand identity with regards to gender, ethnicity, parental status, ability, religion, or sexual orientation, and the connection between identity and the disparate impact of both contemporary and historical practices in education and society as a whole on our students. And
whereas the Pleasanton Unified School District is dedicated to supporting the acceptance and inclusion of all students and staff, as well as preventing discrimination and bullying based on sexual orientation and gender identity. And
whereas an individual's identity should not only be understood and acknowledged, but celebrated as a valued member of the broader community. And
whereas the Pleasanton Unified School District Board of Trustees wishes to honor the variety of celebrations recognizing lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and similar historically marginalized community, plus Pride Month around the nation and throughout the state of California during the month of June. And
therefore be it resolved that the Pleasanton Unified School District hereby declares June 2020 LGBTQ Pride Month to signify support for the LGBTQ plus community.
that last line, as modified by the motion, would read, therefore be it resolved that the Pleasanton Unified School District hereby declares June 2021 LGBTQ plus Pride Month and proudly flies the pride flag at the district office and each school site to signify support for the LGBTQ plus community.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve this resolution as amended. Trustee Carrion?
Aye.
Makashi?
Aye.
Maher? Aye. Miller?
Aye.
And aye as well. Thank you guys so much.
I too.
You can say aye too.
6-0.
You got to read 2 paragraphs. So we'll take care of that. I know, like I said, Mr. Gannon has the flag already here, ready for the district office. So we'll make sure that the rest of the schools get covered as well. Okay, thank you very much. Now we'll move on to our report, discussion, and possible action items. And the first item we have up this evening is 12.1. This is a report and discussion on our career technical education program, as well as the Tri-Valley Regional Occupation Program. Is Dr. Nugent kicking us off, or?
I'll turn this over to Dr. Woodward.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. So this evening, as we normally do at this time, we are going to hear our CTE, a report and discussion on career technical education and the Tri-Valley Regional Occupation Program. And joining us this evening will be Dr. Amos Nugent III, Josh Hill, Tony Dennis, some CTE students, and Julie Duncan. And this will be an overview that will be provided on our CTE programs, as well as a report from Tri-Valley ROP. Go ahead, Dr. Nugent.
Thank you, Dr. Woodward. I'm here. Do I have the ability to share my screen?
You should.
All right, while I'm waiting on that to appear for me, I'll go ahead and just begin just by greeting everyone. Good evening, Board President Larson and trustees, Superintendent Hagelin, Executive Cabinet, and Pleasanton community. We are very grateful to be before you this evening to present the annual CTE board update in conjunction with Tri-Valley Regional Occupational Program. As this is my first year with the district, having started back in July, replacing Mr. Glenn Sparks, who's been with Pleasanton Unified School District for a long time. We're excited for this opportunity to share on tonight the fact that in spite of the pandemic, several great things have still happened in CTE here in the district. So thank you for this opportunity on tonight. Let's see. I am perfect. I see the ability to share my screen, and we will prepare to get started. All right. As with everything here in the district, we always like to frame our work around our district strategic plan. This strategic plan encompasses our mission, vision, beliefs, values, and a very powerful strategic plan that it is. The piece of the strategic plan that in particular drives our work here in the Adult and Career Education Department, CT in particular, is the part that really emphasizes the importance of all students of Pleasanton Unified School District graduating college and career ready, regardless of their race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, gender, or other ways in which the students may be defined or grouped, either officially by different measures or even individually how they may self-identify. Therefore, tonight, our objectives are to, rooting in that, our objectives tonight are to first and foremost provide an update on the apprenticeship activities from the 2020-2021 school year, then review the work and recommendations of our CTE equity team. Followed by that, we will we'll provide an overview of program highlights from this school year, and particularly talking about some of the physical and online infrastructure enhancements and updates. You'll hear about Project Lead the Way, our middle school CTE programs, and our high school pathways. And of course, you will hear about a lot of the great things that are happening in partnership with TVROP and tech. As Dr. Woodward stated, we have a host of speakers on tonight who you'll hear from, especially our CTE students that we are excited to share with you on tonight. However, before I begin, I want to just take a second to just make special mention of two people who are not with us on tonight, but they're with us in spirit and in our hearts, and that is Mrs. Diane Farthing and Mrs. Deborah Evans. These are two of the longstanding CTE teachers who've been with Pleasanton Unified for a long time, who will be retiring at the end of this school year. and beginning the next chapter of their lives. We salute them and we recognize them for their contributions. Beginning with an overview of our apprenticeship work for this school year, what we see here is really the last 4 years of what has happened with our apprenticeship partnerships. We are thankful that beginning with the work of Mr. Glenn Sparks, we were able to develop strategic partnerships with the Cement Masons, District Council 16, and the California Joint Apprenticeship Council for Firefighters. As you can see here, essentially from the 17-18 school year up to this year, there has been, in general, growth in spite of the pandemic. The first column represents the rate that the state of California has established to pay all local education agencies who serve and support apprenticeship training, and that has grown and will continue to grow even into next year. We see here that the number of hours that we have been allocated has grown over the years. And when you multiply the RSI rate by the training hours, that then leads you to the total amount of money that is allocated on an annual basis. And as you can see, that amount has grown. From the funds that are allocated and that we actually receive, and we serve as a fiscal agent to support the training, we are then able to pay the apprenticeship organizations and then retain a portion of those funds to support other program activities, to support career education, adult education, and other initiatives of the district. And so as we can see, the amount of funds that we've been able to retain, which it's near and dear to my heart because I know my salary is paid from these funds, and other programs, we are happy and grateful for the great work that has come. This year in particular, we've been able to support our apprenticeship partners in some new and different ways by expanding ESL classes for our apprenticeships and looking at other strategic ways to expand pathway opportunities. As we mentioned in our initial slide about college and career readiness, we wanted to take a second to just really kind of dive a little bit deeper and really define and understand what college and career readiness is as defined by the state of California. In the state of California, there historically have been 8 ways that a student could be recognized as prepared, that would then show up on the dashboard for the state of California. Area number 7 specifically speaks to career technical education, and that is the area of the dashboard that, while CTE is not the only measure that can help a student achieve college and career readiness in terms of preparation, it's the one that is most dear to our heart because of what's also included in it. So for us, in addition to completing a CTE pathway, if a student performed at a certain level on their Smarter Balance assessment and or completed multiple semesters or trimesters of courses where they were able to earn college credit, that's how a student was able to achieve college and career readiness. This, again, historically have been the case. However, as of January this year, the state of California has done some new things in terms of how they are defining career readiness and college readiness, as indicated by the links here, where instead of it being grouped together, they are looking to separate that. For us as a district, I think it's very important that we are intentional about ensuring that all of our students still graduate college and career readiness in spite of what the state does. And so to help support that, there are some things that we will share and talk about both tonight and in the future to ensure that we still make good on the promise that we've made as an organization. For us as a district, especially given the fact that this year in particular, over the past 12 months and in this school year, we've had the pandemic, and the pandemic unfortunately has brought to light many of the challenges that have already existed. And while as a whole the district has done above and beyond as best as it could, there's still more that we can do to continue help supporting some of our most vulnerable learners. And so what we did was to really understand this from the lens of CTE. We went to the dashboard and gathered data on 2 elements that are part of some of the CTE achievement metrics: college and career readiness and graduation rate. When we look at the district as a whole, we see that The college and career readiness for all students averages out to be in the green at 76% plus. However, when we dig a little deeper, we understand how that actually is broken down. We see that our white and Asian students are green and blue respectively. However, our English learners, Hispanic students, and socioeconomically disadvantaged students, in addition to our students with disabilities, are all in orange. Similarly, when we look at the graduation rate for our district, we are actually in blue, with our white and Asian students making up the majority of those, that data. However, again, digging deeper, we see that our English learners, the same group of students with disabilities, Hispanic students, and socioeconomically disadvantaged students are at yellow and orange respectively. So for us, that gap, that wide gap, is a cause for not just concern, but alarm and immediate attention. And so it was really starting from this initial data point that we began our work to really see how we can learn more about this and take the corresponding actions to begin ameliorating this issue. So one of the first steps that we took coming into this semester in particular was forming a CTE equity team. And so the purpose of this CTE equity team was to really uncover and unpack this data to then see what we can do about it and how even more we can improve our practice. Historically, our CTE team has always been very strong and really done well and been a source of engage students and just really accelerate learning. So we challenged some of our teachers to say, hey, how can we do more to really address this problem? And so I'm proud to announce that we had four tremendous teachers step up to the plate to really help form the CTE equity team and really dig down into this work. Two of the members of the team you'll hear from later tonight, Mr. Josh Hill, Mr. Tony Dennis. In addition to the two of these gentlemen, we also had Mrs. Sherry Weinhagen and Mr. Shannon Sauce. So for several weeks, we collected, synthesized, and analyzed data. And from there, we then took that data and began presenting it in multiple ways to different groups to really help us understand what's happening. Above and beyond just the groups that we saw presented and that you see here, socioeconomically disadvantaged, special education, English learners, we also dug deeper and looked at our African American students, our Hispanic students, all the students who either through data that we saw here from the state or either other measures that were not a part of the state benchmark to really help understand what the difference was and why. So some of the data that you see here that we were able to capture pretty easily were measures of English proficiency and math proficiency. As indicated in blue, we see the comparison of CTE students versus non-CTE students. And in each of these categories, we see that our socioeconomically disadvantaged students and our special education students who enrolled in our CTE classes did not compare in terms of their performance to their non-CTE counterparts. However, when we go on to our next slide, we'll see that the graduation rates and the completion rates, they did they did do better. So as we look at this and as we really begin to just unpack this data, we see that there is really just a cause for concern because in spite of their comparison, we still aren't meeting what the state targets were for many of our groups. So we really need to take action, and we wanted to figure out what that would be and how we can bring everyone along to be committed to that work. As I mentioned before, some of the other points of data were the graduation rate and completion rate. While the first two measures may have been a little self-explanatory, I'll just mention the ELA and math proficiency rates that we referred to spoke to the performance on the Smarter Balance assessments as was pictured in the initial graphic. When we looked at the definition of college and career readiness, and then when it comes to completion rate, that refers to how many of our students actually begin a CTE pathway and see it through to completion upon graduation. And so the team was very busy doing all of this work this semester, and we are pleased with some of the things that came from our efforts. Some of the recommendations that came that really drove our work are, first and foremost, understanding that as a department and really as a system, we need to expand targeted marketing, outreach, and supports for ethnic and special population subgroups who are underserved. By and large, a lot of people, while there were some who were aware of CTE, many people were not informed of what CTE really was, even when we mentioned the acronym. So first of all, informing them and doing targeted outreach to them. And we have several strategies that we have developed that were a part of the CTE equity plan that we have built that really further outline all of these recommendations and the courses of action that will correspond. We need to also develop a CTE data dashboard to actively monitor and address CTE inequities. We were able to pull some data, but other data was really hard to pull. So in order for us to really understand and assess the depth of the challenges that we face, even though a lot of great work has occurred and is occurring, we need to build our capacity to really understand our starting point so we can take the appropriate actions. From there, establishing system-wide protocols to strengthen college and career preparation for all students, establishing a work-based learning data management system that will increase the work-based learning opportunities for all students, and then engage CTE teachers in a program assessment process on an annual basis that will help align our priorities and match them to the focus areas. This is a body of work that will take us over the next 2 to 3 years, but we're excited for how this has begun. And so you will hear more about this from Mr. Josh Hill when he shares, but at this time, I'm happy to share the stage with Mrs. Julie Duncan, the Superintendent of Tri-Valley Regional Occupational Program.
Thank you, Amos. If you could go ahead and thank you, going to that slide. Well, thank you very much for having me here tonight. It's always fun. I always end what I call the road show with Pleasanton. I go to every single district. And so I want to just, first of all, say thank you, Dr. Haglin, to Trustee Larson, who has been a board member for ROP in the past, and welcome to all the new board members who haven't got a chance to meet yet, but I have seen you virtually on the tech collaboration when we had our end of the year program. So I want to thank you for joining that. I was excited to see we have several new board members in all 3 districts that I serve, Dublin, Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District, and Pleasanton. And tonight I want to talk just a little bit about CTE. You know, Amos just brought up a great point about how someone said, well, we didn't know what CTE is. I think sometimes the name CTE, people get lost in it. What I want them to know is I want them to know program, and I want them to understand that career technical education is what ROP does. It's just, we all just have a different name for it, but it's taking those skills for students to be able to have a hands-on or application experience with their academics, so that students have careers by choice, not by chance. One of the great collaborations we have with Las Positas College and my member districts, the 3 districts I mentioned, is TECH, the Tri-Valley Educational Collaborative. We've been around for 30 years, and we're also celebrating ROP's 50th year. So we'll be kicking that off next year. You'll see a lot of promos for our 50-year celebration. And this year, we really want to take time to acknowledge how all the students, teachers, you sitting on the board, administrators, reimagined what it was like to deliver education in a way no one ever thought could be done or didn't even imagine what that would look like. And we saw people elevate. We saw students be empowered to do something different. We saw teachers try things they've never done before. And we engaged with our business partners a little bit differently than we have in the past. And I think there's a lot of ways we're not going to go back. We're going to continue to engage that way. And then we elevated. We made these connections and we stepped it up and went to the next level. We also wrote a grant focusing on underserved students. We have a new position that serves Village High School and Del Val high schools in the Livermore Valley, as well as the Vineyard Independent Study Program. This position is there to help with those career technical education courses, students finding their passion, finding a pathway for them that meets, what they think they want to do, or at the same time maybe actually confirm that they don't want to do it. We're just as excited when they figure out they don't want to do it as when they do want to do it. We also in tech pride ourselves on making sure as a collaborative that we offer professional development so that our teachers and our students can receive certifications, have increased opportunities to virtual experiences, which beyond just sitting on a Zoom, our students have been able to do simulations. They've done job interviews, they've done job shadows, virtual field trips. This year, as much as it hasn't been ideal, it has opened the doors in ways that people couldn't even have imagined. And when we wrote the $5.9 million grant for telepresence technology, we knew that's what we wanted to do. And this past year has allowed us to showcase that on many, many ways, offering that telepresence to all 3 districts. The Tri-Valley Partnership Committee with Las Positas College is something we're really proud of. That was formed because of tech. This partnership expands opportunities such as middle college. Because we already have an established relationship with the college, all of the courses that we have articulated, earning college units, working with those professors, the deans, they were more than welcoming to start our middle college program on their campus over 5 years ago. We offer dual enrollment opportunities with them. Our teachers have articulations in English and math. They offer enrichment courses. Our teachers have become certified to be adjunct faculty. They're on our high school campuses teaching a variety of courses, and we want to expand that. And together, you've heard the word grant. We've done a lot together. Incentive grant and what they call the strong workforce grants. Amos, next slide, please. So I said a lot about grants, but I think it's worth noting. Over the past 7 years, the Tri-Valley ROP has helped the districts by gaining $21 million to offset and to their costs that they spend on career technical education, as well as the investment into building these programs. With these dollars, we've been able to offer customer service to our partners. Customer service is one of the 4 core values that ROP strives to achieve. And that customer service can be seen in various ways. Amos is new. We had Glenn Sparks here for years, and I was in Amos's spot over 15 years ago in that same exact role. And we support one another. This collaborative is to help understand the culture. It's to strengthen relationships. It's a given that we always work together, whether that's giving release time or going to meetings or shadowing. That's what we're here for. It's to provide professional development. We have been able to offer great opportunities for our teachers virtually, as well as give them release time to work on things that they may not have time to do in their very busy day. Next slide. And what I love about our teachers and Pleasanton teachers, as well as our own ROP teachers, they were very creative. It's a little difficult to teach auto body repair and auto technology, but our teachers stepped up like you cannot believe. They had kits for students. They had fenders that they could come pick up at school and work on. Our instructors were on their own cars, showing them all the different tools, illustrating. It was amazing. Next slide, please. Our teachers created dynamic lessons, hyperlink docs. And I want to just take time here to thank Pleasanton Unified, because when we went into shelter in place, they immediately opened up all the professional development to our teachers. Suzanne Smith, our coordinator, was great in supplementing this as well. But I just want to thank Pleasanton for that. This was one of our first year teachers last year, went into shelter in place, and she created this amazing hyperdoc. She teaches our sports medicine courses. And students were able to self-pace themselves and go through looking at it. What does this mean? What's the heart do? Exercises. This was an assignment, an asynchronous assignment, which was great. Next slide. We also had the challenge of offering, and many of you who have sat on the board or have been involved in the community know that for over 3 decades, we have been hosting the Tri-Valley College and Career Expo, where colleges and universities and military career tech schools come from all over the country. Amos, if you could please click on where it says webinars and drop-in sessions for me. We had to go virtual. Traditionally, this is one night and it's 2 hours, and we rotate it on campuses. We usually have the students of DECA, our marketing classes and business classes, participate and plan this event because it is a hands-on, real-life event, helping them with those skills. But instead, this year, we were not able to do that live. We couldn't have 3,000 people because that's what we attract. So our college and career specialists got their heads together, working with the universities, and we delivered what we think, and we'll be doing it again this way next year as well, an event that was 3 days. You could, and if you want to just click on search by institution there, Amos, that'd be great. You'll see that you could look up Cal State universities, you could look up private colleges, out-of-state institutions, and if you click on the Cal State, just a real easy drop down, you could click on each one of those schools, and within those schools, you would have seen links to their websites, virtual tours, and then you could sign up. There were personal, if you go back to the homepage, there were personal ways for you to be able to sign up and for a certain time frame for a live webinar or Q&A session, and you could pick the time. Talk about equity. This allowed access to students who may not be able to drive to another district because their families are working 2 to 3 jobs. They don't have a vehicle to get there. The bus doesn't run at that time. This allowed parents and students to participate 3 days on their time frame, and virtually. We know we had over 4,500 hits on the site. Usually people come with 2 to 3 people with them. So we can't even really gauge really what was the number, but that was the hits that we received from that event. Thank you, Amos. If you want to go to the next slide. If you press escape, it should go back. Or should. You can just go back to the PowerPoint on your toolbar. There we go. We had our, a lot of people said, oh my goodness, what are you guys going to do? Your students do internships. Are they going to be able to do it? They were. That's an example of one of our students who was, honestly, this was the best help teachers could have during virtual or remote learning. They would come on with small groups and read to them. This was part of their internship. So instead of actually physically being in the classroom, they were reading to them. We had Miss Suzanne Smith meeting teachers at, Alisal, Leidixon, picking up packages for us to then deliver to the school sites so that the teachers could have the students pick up the little packets. So when your elementary school handed out packets for the week or whatever it was, our students were there making those packets from home as part of their internship hours. Next slide. And I touched on one of our great achievements, I think, in ROP, and of course you all know her, Miss Amy Brown. She is our amazing coordinator of middle college. As you heard from our fabulous middle college representative on the board, their graduation, their ceremony for the middle college will be on June 1st. But Amy really created a virtual community. Las Positas only has a few classes back on campus. And so creating a virtual community for juniors, just think about that. Juniors who are starting college 15, 16, but they actually don't physically get to go there. It's hard enough when they're in person. And the supports that she put in, the fun activities, she had bingo, she had a Bob Ross paint along. They did bracelets. She had them, they could come and pick up their packets at school. Just fun, motivating things. And this is a student from 2022 letting us know how much it was impactful to them. And this program continues to thrive. We will have 140 students again next year, 50 of them being from Pleasanton Unified. And we're very excited for them. Next slide. This is a slide, it's not for you to really focus on and see so much as it says the 2021 Tri-Valley CalPADS convening and CCI coding, completers, and work-based learning experiences. When I was in Amos's position over 15 years ago, I started coming together with the districts to say, we should really have common pathways. We should really talk about coding, because even back then we were coding, it was called CBEDS coding. And let's all put the same number down for catering. Why do we always choose a different number? And so that consortium really stayed together, and that was because of tech. And as I moved through my different roles in administration, and now that we have CalPADS, we need to make sure that our dashboard is actually gathering all the data it should. Our middle college students should be counted, right? There are dual enrollment completers. We have fabulous pathways in Pleasanton that ROP supports. We want to make sure it's counted. So this year was our second year. The coding has gotten very detailed, and we wanted to make sure that we have a lot of new faces from all three districts, making sure everyone knows how to properly code their pathways to ensure that our students are getting the credit they should be receiving, as well as the district, to make sure we're in those colors that we want to be on that CCI wheel. Next slide. And lastly, the professional development opportunities. We were supposed to have this symposium last year in April, and of course we all know what happened. This was from one of our grants. We really felt that CTE teachers, we have tech, and that's a great professional development for them to attend, but a lot of our teachers don't get to go to conferences. And if people get to go to conferences, it's one or two people. We wanted to bring it to the teachers and to the counselors and to the principals and to board members. We wanted a presentation like you get when you go to CSBA, or you go and you can get at AXA. And so we had two great speakers. We had Ron Suskind and Rachel Mann as our keynotes, as well as workshops for our teachers to attend on the Wednesday asynchronous day. Well, actually we thought it was going to be the day that we were still remote, but luckily we got to go back to school. And but we were still able to offer this to our teachers. And I have never gotten text messages after a professional development. The text messages I got was from teachers saying, I felt like a professional today. Thank you for bringing these world-class speakers to the Tri-Valley. And it really is a testament to our collaborative, to Amos, to our partners in Livermore and Dublin, that we work together to provide these opportunities. I know there's a lot of speakers, so I am going to kick it off to one of the most amazing people in this district. He's finishing up his Teacher of the Year, Mr. Josh Hill, who's still going to be Teacher of the Year in my book. He also, as you know, everyone talks to me about writing grants for Pleasanton, but Mr. Hill and I have been close partners on these facilities grants, and it's a big thank you to him for the construction that's happening right now. He was a big piece of that, and I'm honored to have him speak next. Josh.
Thank you, Julie. A huge thanks to you and everyone at ROP for all you do and the constant support that you give us. Good evening, everyone. My name is Josh Hill, and I am the CTE Department Chair at Foothill. And despite the challenging year we all had, I'm excited to be here tonight to share some of the highlights of our CTE programs around the district. But first, I want to acknowledge the great work Dr. Nugent has done in his first year. For several years, I have been a part of these presentations and have been able to hide behind great success as a district as a whole. But Dr. Nugent is leading us in the much needed work of focusing on our underserved and special populations, which was the driving force for creating our CTE equity team. But to kick off our highlights, you can see that we continue to grow across the district in all of our CTE programs. You can move on to the next slide, Amos. However, even with consistent growth, we continue to get feedback from our various stakeholders that some of our CTE programs are still not as well known as we would like them to be. So we created a new CTE website that has information about all of our industry sectors and pathways, as well as course descriptions and other information. We worked with our secondary counselors to create a new CTE brochure that will help them better place students in appropriate CTE courses, as well as help them progress in their chosen pathway as they work towards being college and career ready. Next slide, Amos. And the most exciting highlight for me personally has been watching the construction of the new CTE building at Foothill. I was able to tour the rooms on Tuesday, and it is awesome and will no doubt be a model educational space for our community. As Julie mentioned, we've already secured $3 million in CTFP grant monies, and we are still in the running for $3 million more, so we'll keep you posted. But now I'm going to pass it on to another former Teacher of the Year, Mr. Tony Dennis, to give us some highlights on our PLCW programs. Tony.
Thanks, Josh, and thank you to the board and executive cabinet, Julie for all the work, and to Dr. Nugent for coming in and re-energizing us to look at some work that we need to do. But I'm here to talk very briefly about an update on PLTW. I'm glad to be back here before the board again. So let me just give you a really quick update. Elementary-wise, the implementation of Launch, which is Project Lead the Way's elementary program, really has slowed, but it was due to the pandemic, as well as lots of changeover in staff and them being really, really busy with other curriculum adoptions. But we're hearing from the elementary schools now saying we're excited to get back on board. We're excited to get kind of re-energized on that. So we are planning some refresher programs for our training, for our teachers that have already been trained, as well as some new teacher training. And because we could do that internally, we don't have to depend on the Project Leads the Way organization to do that. We can set that up and configure it what works best for us. So we're looking forward to doing that later this summer with Linda Baveda and Carlotta Lim from Leidixon and Walnut Grove, respectively. The middle school program, our Gateway program, continues to grow. Really excited at Harvest Park Middle School. The growth there has been so great that our star teacher there, Sherry Weinhagen, is now going to be teaching just Project Lead the Way next year. She's had such growth in enrollment there that she had to give up some other classes to do that. And that's a reflection of her efforts over the last many years, as well as a change in their approach that said, hey, let's give them a year-long option instead of just a semester option, which was really nice. At our other two at Harvest Park Middle School, we had the retirement of Jana Howley last year, a longtime supporter of the Gateway program. So we were sad to see her go. We saw enrollment slow a little bit, but we're already starting to see that pick back up again. And you'll hear from a Harvest Park student momentarily. And at PMS, I'm excited to say that we have two teachers now that have been trained and have kind of taken the mantle of Gateway. And we're starting to see an increase in enrollment there. And we're going to add additional modules and training for those teachers, one of which is going to be going to training this summer. At the high school level, we've got a lot to celebrate. Boy, I tell you what, when Josh and I and others sat down and looked at each other for the pandemic and said, how are we going to teach these classes online? It was a challenge, and we met often, and there was a lot of collaboration across the two comprehensive high schools to talk about this. And I can say that we're all should be proud of the work that was done to take these classes and make them engaging for our students in this weird environment that we were on. We continue to see good enrollment in the engineering program. We continue to see growth in the biomedical sciences pathway, and our ICT pathway, our computer science pathway, continue to see really strong growth to the point where we won't be long before we'll need to add some more teachers into those pathways. So this summer, we'll be sending in at least 3 teachers to additional Project Lead the Way training to meet the demands that we have for this fall. I want to point out something else to you, though, and that is on the next slide, some highlights. Some highlights of kind of understanding that it's more than what happens in the classroom. Because our kids come into these classrooms and they do this kind of work and they get inspired. So here's just a few examples. On the left, our Society of Women Engineers chapter, it's called SWE Next, came up with, all on their own, planned and conducted an outreach program for middle school girls to introduce them to the possibilities of pursuing an engineering career. Our Unmanned Aerial Vehicle Club was hatched by a group of students that were in our ICT and engineering pathways. And when their competition got canceled due to the pandemic, they pivoted and started learning new stuff and became the streaming organization for our football games, and have added streaming through their drone and through stationary cameras to their plate. And the last example is a group of students who, on their own, in their own free time, were inspired to go out and look for a design competition, happened to find one in Canada, and competed in that Canadian competition, won in their category, and just 2 weeks ago competed at the national level and came in second out of the entire design competition, competing with both high schools and colleges. In fact, the team that beat them in their category was a college team. So it's amazing to see the bleed over into the other programs that happens because kids get inspired in these programs. So a great way for you to appreciate the power of these pathways, not just those from Project Lead the Way, but those from curriculum developed internally by our own teachers and staff, are to hear from students. So first, we're going to hear from a couple of middle school students about their experience with the Gateway classes. And then we'll follow that up with some high school students representing our culinary, engineering and architecture, health science and medical technology, and our information and communication technology pathways. So Dr. Nugent, if you would share those.
Hi, I'm Nolan Chavez, and today I'm going to be telling you why PLTW rocks. First things first, PLTW has an amazing hands-on experience that helps me learn. When I have something that I can use, it's a lot easier for me to learn, and this class just does just that. Secondly, engineering has been a possible career option for me, but this class has really opened my eyes to that possibility. It's an amazing career, and engineering is something I would consider in the future. Third, designing with empathy is important to understand because it's a little bit easier when you can put yourself in your client's shoes. So this class has really done an amazing job of helping me understand why we need empathy, especially in engineering. Also, engineering is just fun. It's where my creativity has very few constraints and I can allow my thoughts to flow freely. So thank you for listening. Have a great rest of your day. Hi, I'm Nolan Chavez.
Hi, this is a short video talking about the Project Lead the Way, or PLTW class. In PLTW, we learn a variety of skills, such as coding, animation, entrepreneurship, and much, much more. In coding mobile games, we use a software called Scratch to code a sprite to do what we want it to do. In computer-aided design, we use SketchUp for schools to build and design things as shown. In our engineering notebooks, we innovate, invent, and design new ideas. In our creative coding unit, we practice coding all sorts of cool tricks and effects in Scratch. In entrepreneurship, we build and run our own businesses and try to sell our products. In our animation unit, we use Animaker to animate our PSAs.
Hello, I am Rohini Santial, and here is my culinary arts experience. Taking culinary arts at Amador has shaped my perspective on working in the kitchen. We learned about sanitation skills and how to limit foodborne illness, knife skills, specifically how to cut uniformly and safely, organization through the mise en place method of preparing ingredients, and various cooking methods such as yeast breads, the creaming method, and dough lamination. Culinary has tapped into my creative side in a way that no other subject has before, pushing me to take on challenges that result in a more satisfying product. While every experience in the kitchen may not have led to the perfect result, each dish was an opportunity to learn and grow for the next time. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sachi Bayani, a current junior at Foothill High School, and I'm currently on the engineering and architecture sector, specifically on the pathway to engineering design. So I currently have Mr. Johnson for Honors Aerospace Engineering, but my freshman and sophomore year, I had Mr. Friesen for Intro to Engineering Design and Principles of Engineering. Throughout my years in engineering, I had some pretty interesting projects. When I was a freshman in high school, when I was 14, I designed a heart valve for a human heart, which was actually tested on a sheep heart by the PLTW for biomedical sciences. It's hard for me to think about the fact that I'm 17 and just at 14, I designed a heart valve, which honestly takes so much years of experience to even do, and mine was successful. It's crazy to even think about now. As a junior aerospace engineer, I also had a chance to have some pretty cool projects. Even though it was hard this year with the pandemic, Mr. Johnson made it possible to have some pretty fun things. For example, in the beginning of the first semester, I had a chance to design and fly a glider. I have it right here with me. I can just move back. It's pretty big. It's around 2 feet in diameter. So I had to pick up materials, and I spent an entire weekend building my glider and testing it out in my backyard. And to top it all off, I wrote a 41-page paper at the end to show Mr. Johnson. He was quite thrilled reading 41 pages. Another one of my favorite projects this year was building a parachute this year. I just actually built this recently. This is actually a fun project because it was just a fun activity for me to do while studying for finals. It was pretty fun just standing on my bed and dropping a parachute off. Overall, engineering has helped me really further my career goals and has also helped me in various other classes such as math and physics. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Sharanya Sundaram, and I am a sophomore at Foothill High School. I am taking the health and sciences sector, particularly the patient care pathway. And my course this year is Principles of Biomedical Science, and my teacher is Ms. Lipman. I really enjoyed biomed. In fact, I found it interesting from day one. What sparked this interest was that the course started with a case pertaining to the murder of a fictitious character, Ana Garcia. We were given evidence, suspects, as well as other clues, and we had to analyze the crime scene and fit all the pieces together. It was an entirely new and refreshing way of thinking. From that point on, the class only got better. We covered various units, built camaraderie, and practiced our slightly rusty social skills with group projects and hands-on lab activities. In particular, the dissection of a sheep's heart with a scalpel, glucose tolerance and insulin tests. All of them were memorable. However, it was Miss Lipman who made these experiments and concepts truly enjoyable because she was lively, fun, dedicated, and extremely passionate about her subject. In addition, she was organized, prompt, and always available when I floundered or needed clarifications. She was also more than willing to explain confusing concepts. Her interest and passion made this class refreshing, interesting, and my favorite class this year.
Good evening. My name is Suhani Singhal, and I'm a senior at Amador Valley High School.
My name is Nisha Maheshwari, and I'm a junior at Amador Valley High School.
We are both part of the Information and Communication Technology sector in PUSD.
And our pathway is Software and Systems Development.
I am representing Mr. Hansen's cybersecurity class at Amador Valley High School. This year, cybersecurity has been one of my favorite classes because in our class, we were able to learn important lifelong skills and apply what we were learning to the real world. During this virtual school year, one of the aspects I appreciated the most was the emphasis on collaboration in the classroom. All of the materials and lessons were focused on hands-on learning. Through the PLTW materials, for example, we were able to learn how to secure virtual machines and protect ourselves against malicious attacks. I was able to connect with my peers on a daily basis, and students were also able to strengthen their communication and leadership skills. One of the biggest highlights of the year was definitely applying the concepts we were learning in class to the real world. In class, we talked about real cybersecurity threats like Stuxnet, issues with Apple's AirDrop, and the most recent attack on the US gas pipeline. It was really interesting to see how these concepts we were learning in class were actually applicable to the real world. And it was definitely a reassurance that what we were learning is relevant to today's day and age. Finally, I really enjoyed hearing from professionals in the cybersecurity field, and we were able to understand what it takes to be a cybersecurity professional today, and students could also see if they had any potential interest in the career.
Not only do classes help us learn more about computer science, clubs, which both Mr. Hansen and Mr. Kioi are advisors in, have helped us to hold events to inspire and teach coding in multiple languages to younger kids. For the past 2 years, I've been working with Mr. Kioi, Ms. Corbis, the Girls Who Code officers, and the other adult mentors from different companies to help host an in-person Girls Who Code Summit in 2020 and a virtual event this year. Between the last 2 years, we have had over 200 girls from all over the country to join our events and continue to contact us for more of these type of events. The AP Computer Science and Cybersecurity classes have shown us to be strong at what we do and how we inspire others. Not only do we have an advantage in our future careers by taking these courses, we also get to give the same advantage to younger students in our community. Thank you for listening to us. Do you have any questions?
Questions from the board members or comments? Mary Jo?
I just want to say thank you for your hard work. When I taught second grade, we did Project Lead the Way, and they were doing thermodynamics and they were engineering, and they loved it. So thank you for your hard work. It's a great program.
No questions. I just really find it, I guess, inspiring when. So earlier today we had a recognition of our salutatorians and valedictorians, and all the great academic work that was done there, and then now to see this opportunities, the project-based learning that's going on, and the career preparation, and all the opportunities there. I mean, I guess the term well-rounded is really what comes through, and I that's something that I appreciate about Pleasanton Unified School District. Honestly, it's one of the reasons I wanted to be on the board, and I'm really glad that we're seeing things like this. This is better than I could have even imagined. It's fantastic.
Kelly?
So I'm humbled, thinking about my own upbringing in a very, very small town in the Midwest. We did not have these types of opportunities, and I feel very honored that the students here in Pleasanton are able to have that direct, hands-on learning experience. The enthusiasm, the laughter, the joy, the excitement that I heard from the presenters tonight, totally engaged in what they were sharing on what they have learned is pretty much, it speaks for itself. And I just really applaud everyone, the educators and those in charge of the design of the curriculum to make it happen, and then applaud the students for the opportunities to just learn by doing, and that's what we want, and applaud this program and the opportunities for all of our students who participate. Job well done.
Yeah, I'd just like to add a couple of things. Every year when we have a presentation, the program gets more understanding from the public about what's available for students. And you should have led with the students. I'm just going to say that right now. But, it really is. It's hard for some of our families to understand the value in these programs. They're focused, some people are focused on what they perceive as a college track that, largely means really high academic classes, which these are, but they're not traditional AP types of classes. But the kinds of learnings and the experiences the students get in these programs, it is night and day beyond the strict learnings that you'll get from an AP class. I'm just going to say, and my children took a lot of AP classes, so I'm very familiar with them. I don't need any emails, thank you, from the AP teachers. They're great classes too. But I'm just saying that the idea that strictly academic book learning, which is important, is the only answer is not true. And these classes, you get the combination of rigor, certainly, and also that application, which is what we'd like to see more of, and we'd like to see our students take advantage of the opportunities that we have, and we'd like to continue to structure our programs in order to make that happen for students. So well done. Thank you so very much for a great presentation, and hopefully our students and families will check it out. All right, we are at 9, it's not really 8, it's 9:21. Do we need to have a bio break, 5 minutes break, or people want to power through? Okay, we'll power through. Obviously, if anyone needs to take a personal privilege step away, feel free. 12.2, this is report, discussion, and possible action on the second reading of the elementary social studies adoption. Dr. Woodward?
Yes, thank you. President Larson, trustees, Superintendent Haglund, fellow cabinet members, and Pleasanton community. At the May 6th meeting, you heard a presentation about our social studies adoption, and this evening will be the second reading with a report, discussion, and possible action, and Director Galletti will be doing this presentation. Director Galletti, go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Woodworth. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and then I'll get started. All right. Good evening, President Larson, Dr. Haglund, Board of Trustees, Cabinet, and our community. Tonight I am presenting the second reading on the elementary social studies adoption for the 2021-22 school year. Tonight's presentation will summarize the results of the rubric used to evaluate the 3 programs piloted and to provide the committee's recommendation for adoption. To start, I will bring us back to the first presentation in which I introduced the rubric used to evaluate the curriculum. The rubric was developed using the state guidelines for curriculum, and it focuses on how the curriculum aligns with the state standards, including assessment and universal access and instruction planning and support. Special attention was given to evaluate if the curriculum included multiple first-person narratives, accurate historical representation of history, and culturally sensitive material. Teachers from each of the 9 elementary schools and representing every grade level comprised the members of the pilot committee. Prior to teaching the curriculum, each publisher did an overview and training of materials. Then after 4 weeks of using the curriculum, members completed the extensive rubric. On this slide, if we start with the first column on the table, it reminds us of the 3 programs evaluated by teachers: Studies Weekly, TCI, Social Studies Alive, McGraw-Hill, Social Studies Impact. The next 2 columns, pros and cons, summarize the qualitative data captured from the open-ended questions on the rubric and the pilot committee debrief sessions. Included on this slide is a link at the top to the rubric results for each of the curriculum. Highlights of the Studies Weekly program was that it was student-friendly and easy to use. However, this was in comparison to TCI, in which teachers felt not only was easy to use, but offered rigor, inquiry, and an interactive history experience with real-life situations. McGraw-Hill was also rated as a comprehensive program with explicit lessons for English language instruction. As we move into the cons column, you see there were several cons to Studies Weekly, including the Spanish version was difficult for our students, a part of the dual immersion program at Valley View, and teachers felt there was not enough substance and rigor to the overall program. TCI had little cons reported, and McGraw-Hill's digital component was the largest obstacle to teaching the program. Input from our community was sought through a public preview. The notice of the preview was shared through PUSD and school online communication platforms, and hard copies of the notice were displayed at each school site and the district office. Although there was a limited number of respondents, comments were positive for each of the programs. After completing the pilot, teachers completed a thorough analysis and debrief of the rubric results. At that time, committee members elected to eliminate Studies Weekly as an option for recommendation. A Likert scale, with 1 being a low rating and 5 being the highest rating, was used to build consensus on the final recommendation. As you can see listed, 95% of committee members rated TCI a 4 or a 5, whereas only 47% of members rated it as a 4 or 5. Again, 95% of pilot committee members rated their level of comfort with adopting TCI as comfortable to very comfortable, and 5% were neutral. Whereas with McGraw-Hill, 47% rated their level of comfort as comfortable, and 26 were neutral, and the other 26 of the members were uncomfortable. Based on this information, TCI is being recommended for adoption. We are recommending a 6-year contract, which includes both print and digital license for teachers and students. Included in the contract is professional development provided by TCI that is spread out over a 2-year time period. A consumable workbook is an additional component of the program, and at this time we recommend a 1-year subscription. A 1-year subscription versus a 6-year subscription of the consumable workbook allows teachers to determine for subsequent years if a consumable workbook is a valuable component, or if they would prefer to use the digital version of the notebook. At that, I'll come to a close and open it up to questions.
Questions by board members? No? Comments?
I have comments.
Go ahead.
No questions.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Microphone on. I'll try again. Thank you very much, Shay, for the presentation for this meeting and in the last. I'm very passionate about curriculum. And, you know, when I put my curriculum hat on, I found that there were strong elements in all the publishing companies that were provided. I do feel that, you know, for example, Studies Weekly was probably the most progressive review that I've seen in terms of interactive technology. And something that I saw that really stood out was it wasn't just nonfiction delivery of information, but the way the information was presented really kind of blended in some narrative text and in with the illustrations. Loved the leveled text that curriculum provided. I also felt McGraw-Hill had some very salient attributes as well, you know, very robust. And, you know, even though I have very strong feelings when I review curriculum, what I really love about what I saw is the process that you engaged with the teachers. I do know that, you know, I had some feelings about the process, which I'll talk about a bit later, that I think could be improved. But ultimately, I do feel that if this is what the teachers feel that will be most meaningful for their students, they are going to be the ones that will be working with the students. And one point I would just make is that when I started teaching, I didn't have a textbook. And so I think one thing that we have to keep in mind when we talk about an adoption of a curriculum, there's one thing to think about in terms of the textbook, the written curriculum, but it's how it's delivered and put into the face with the students and that engagement that's going to make it happen. And I think that's really important to remember, that this will be a great opportunity for the curriculum. As I looked from the elementary perspective, it looks like it's once a week for the primary, and then for the 4th and 5th grade, it looks like it's more daily, but it's going to be a great opportunity to integrate in with the literacy and the project-based integrated aspect, because at the end of the day, the textbook is just the starting point. And so, you know, I do have some other comments for next steps in terms of how to improve the overall policy of how we adopt textbooks. That's really a bit more about the policy, but those are just some of my comments right now.
Anyone else? Mary Jo?
So I have a quick question. So is it possible to do any supplementing? Because I really like Social Studies Weekly, the videos. Is that possible to do any of that?
Social Studies Weekly. First, I have to say I apologize. On the slide 6, I put TCI, Social Studies Weekly, and TCI, it's not called Social Studies Weekly. I was confusing my names. But Studies Weekly does not offer only the videos. It's only the whole package.
Okay, and I just want to say that I really appreciate the teachers taking the time to pilot during the pandemic. I know this is a very, very difficult time, and I appreciate it. But I also want to say thank you to Dr. Galletti and Dr. Woodward for your leading the expertise in this. I really do appreciate your hard work because you took some time to answer all my questions, and I really appreciate how you reached consensus with the teachers, and I just appreciate how hard you worked, and so thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for promoting me to a doctor, too.
Steve?
She's not a doctor. Shay, now that it looks like you're going to order, are we assured that everything will be here in the fall prior to school starting?
Yes, it should be in the fall. The one area that may be late that they told me was 5th grade because they are updating some of the language. Each of the publishers, as being part of adopted by California as well, yearly they are reviewing their curriculum to make sure that the language they are using is culturally sensitive, it is appropriate, and there are some updates they are making to their 5th grade textbook that could push it a little bit farther, but they expect it before the August start.
Good, thank you.
I think I just echo the comments of my fellow trustees. I appreciate the staff that took the time to pilot. And I know that anytime we adopt new curriculum, it's extra work for everyone as they prepare their lessons. So I just want to thank them in advance for that. And I really do appreciate the process that was used for this adoption. So do I have a motion tonight?
I'll move approval of the adoption of the TCI Social Studies Alive as the kindergarten through 5th grade core curriculum for history and social studies.
I'll second.
It was a very, very complete motion. You read it, I know. Trustee Carrion?
Aye.
McCaughey?
Aye.
Maher?
Aye.
Miller?
Aye.
And Larson, aye. All right, thank you very much, Dr. Galletti. And we'll move on to 12.3. This is report discussion and possible action on the Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant. Ahmad?
Yes, I'll take this. I just was setting up a good evening, board, staff, and community. I want to begin by indicating that putting this plan together was a multi-departmental effort and was really supported by our entire staff and community, including our teachers and our leadership team. And so I'm just going to give a high-level overview as we've reviewed this plan in great detail. We have refined it over the past couple of weeks, and then we'd open it up to questions and answers, and any one of the assistant superintendents will be happy to help respond to the questions. So the grant, specifically, this was put together in a very short order by the state. I think this was approved in March. And so we quickly began working on it to gather, put the plan together. The grant has some specific deadlines. It needs to be spent by the end of August of 2022. So it does cover next summer. And specifically 85% of the dollars need to be spent for in-person services, 10% on paraprofessionals, and really the gist of the money is to support our students in the classrooms with learning and recovering from the pandemic impacts. The state has identified 7 key categories which we'll review in detail. And we spent a great amount of time looking into each of these categories and looking at what programs for PUSD would best serve our students. The input process was extensive. There were multiple meetings with a variety of stakeholders, including our teachers and principals, our leadership team, and then we had smaller group meetings with our FCC, PCC, CECC, and then our LCAC, DLAC, and our budget advisory, as well as larger town hall meetings. And we actually had the opportunity to break out in small groups and then solicit input and direct input through input forms that we created. Through those, we gathered over 500 ideas, and those were reviewed by the team, and we've developed the plans and already have started on some of those, implementing some of those plans by initiating critical positions being filled so that we can manage the extensive work that's in hand. And I am also pretty excited about the work that Janelle's team has put together for the expanded summer opportunities that are coming up in the next few weeks. So in terms of the item category number 1, instructional minutes, we've refined the program to include obviously the Saturday school programs, extended school day, and that in particular looking at the A and B periods, and also additional sections of our high schools to support with reading, math, intervention, and credit recovery. And those plans are already in play, and those programs will be available to our students starting in August. We are in the process of hiring the coordinator who will support the summer school intercession programs. And as I indicated, we're already expanding our summer learning opportunities through an extended summer school program, the practice and extend, and enrichment programs that have been worked on in the last few weeks. We hope to be able to introduce boot camps and also extend our paraeducators an additional hour to help with a variety of support needs throughout the day and after school programs. Additionally, in item number 2, in terms of tutoring and learning, we're looking at providing either in-service days that will need to be negotiated with our partners at APT, and or opportunities for professional development throughout the school year. Another critical position is the academic extended day, and that is also being recruited at this time. Additionally, in order to support the intervention programs and after-school homework clubs, we are looking at opportunities to provide additional teaching support for those programs at the elementary sites as well. We also are looking at, this was one of the items we heard extensively from the meetings, was to provide additional counseling time at the elementary schools in particular. So we are looking at hopefully being able to attract new counselors to be able to provide a 1.0 FTE at each of our elementary schools. Additionally, we heard that we needed additional training and services around dyslexia and universal screening. So those efforts are also being looked at, as well as expanding support services for our English learners. One of the other areas is to really to break down the barriers, and that is a critical area for the dollars that are being allocated. In addition to the dollars that we are looking at in the Expanded Learning Opportunity Grant, we are looking at the in-person grant and the federal ESSER dollars if additional support is needed in the areas of mental health. And so it's kind of looking at it holistically, and not just this grant, but all the grants we have. So additional dollars are being allocated from the in-person grant, particularly to help with our mental health services. Item number 4 is to continue with our technology and high-speed internet and other academic support. So the coordinators that we used the CARES Act dollars, we want to continue those, as well as making sure the one-to-one and other type of connectivity, internet and devices continue, as well as the software and applications that many of our teachers are now using as part of their ongoing teaching curriculum. And we also want to make sure we help all our families with tech support going forward as well. Additionally, on item number 5, we want to continue to provide credit recovery opportunities through the virtual academy, expanded work opportunities for students, professional development, especially in areas of equitable grading practice and differentiated instructions, as well as mentoring programs, and continuing to support online learning platforms through Ingenuity and other platforms that have been helpful in the current school year. We've also identified additional dollars. We have a pretty robust diagnostics and benchmarking already as part of established practices, but we want to additionally support those. And we also, if there's additional funds needed in this area, we can look at the in-person and federal ESSER dollars as well. And lastly, the same goes for staff training. We indicated some of that staff training is already included in other categories, but this specifically called out a few additional programs under this one. It will continue. I think as we indicated, there are other dollars in this area that we can contribute if needed. So this program has been put together, this plan has been put together, and this is a summary of it. This will, after the board's action tonight, we'll then submit it to the state, and then that will allow us to get the funds for, I think they get dispersed in this month and then also in August. And so we'll report back to the state on the progress on a regular basis on the expenditures of this program. So once we've answered your questions, we're asking the board to approve the PUSD's Expanded Learning Opportunity Grant Plan. Turn it back over to the board for questions.
Thank you. Questions? Steve, go ahead.
I don't really have any questions, but I'd like to. Of counseling, has dyslexia, which I'm very happy about. It has teacher training. It has learning loss. I just think you'd be commended, and thank you very much for putting in the time. Ahmed and Dr. Woodward, I appreciate it. And Ed and Julio. Thank you.
Mary Jo?
Oh, I also love the counselors and the dyslexia. Thank you very much. I just had one quick question. I'm just concerned about reading for the elementary, and I'm wondering if there's a way for intervention for after school. I didn't see any of that on number 1. Do you know if that's possible?
So, go ahead, Jenna.
I can take that, Trustee Carry-On. So as part of our after-school programs, a part of that focus would be on reading. And so absolutely, we're very fortunate that we now have the MAP data as well that we can use for the students in the 3rd grade and up. So we will be looking at our early screeners or universal screeners at the beginning of the year. But yes, there will be opportunities for not only after school intervention, but also Saturday and intercession intervention. And the boot camps that you saw, those are specifically to work on skills, academic skills that need to be targeted for specific outcomes and improvement. So those plans are in process. Yes.
Great. Thank you again for your hard work. This is amazing.
Mark?
Yeah, really good on, and thanks for incorporating a lot of the feedback you heard last time. But I do have 2 concerns as I was listening to this. And one of those is, a lot of the items that are on here would be similar to things we would put in our LCAP. And, obviously the scope of the extended learning opportunity is all students, not just LCAP specific students. But it seems like there's an overlap. And so, now I think about, well, what are we going to add from an LCAP perspective to what we already have here? So that's, and I'm not necessarily looking for an answer to that, because I just know But it leads to the second question, which is we've never been able to spend our LCAP dollars. And so this gets to the point of the how. How are we going to execute on this? And so there's definitely issues we've talked about last time. We talked about hiring is a real challenge and all those things. And I started thinking to myself, because we did a really good job on our I-1 funds by hiring a project management firm to help make sure that we got through all these things. And you've got in the plan coordinators to do certain components of this, but it almost feels like we need an overarching coordinator to make sure these activities happen. I hate to have Ahmad, Dr. Woodward, you guys take this on as the other part of your job. I mean, it's like you're already working 125%. So anyway, I'm not necessarily looking for an answer. It's just sort of throwing it out there because I think the plan is great for, it's a high level plan. It's a strategy. I mean, that's great. But I just want to throw that out there from a sort of a, governance perspective.
Yeah, I have similar issues with the just in general with the way this has been rolled out by the state. The intention is all good to provide additional resources to help students, but the capacity of school districts to absorb new initiatives is severely limited. And, we heard earlier from, some classified folks that are concerned that we're adding staff and we're adding managers. But the only way as to your point, Mark, the only way to actually accomplish getting some of these programs going is to have somebody running them and managing them. And so there's going to be some of those positions that are going to be necessary in order to drive these additional initiatives beyond what we would normally do. So, is it likely? Is it possible? Put on my Karnak Says hat that come August 2022, the deadline gets extended, similar to what they did with the because many districts couldn't spend their dollars by December 31st of last year. On these specific programs, it's possible, but we can't count on that. And so I appreciate, again, as everyone said, the work that went into this, and I know that it was, overlapping with our LCAP process, and that was, useful. But, these are things that, like I said last time, there's going to be some things that we find that we really, really like, and then we're not going to have these dollars anymore, and now we're going to have to figure out how we're going to keep doing that going forward. And that's a challenge, but also a good problem to have if we find something that's really great and works really great to help students. I know that I just want the public to understand that yes, these are broad categories that we've come up with in a short amount of time, and they can be adjusted moving forward. The state is not, they're going to be receiving reports on these dollars, but there's not an approval process. The county's not going to be saying, no, you can't do this, yes, you have to do that, and neither is the state really. So we can adjust as we go along. What I said earlier last time about, I like the idea of the extension of the, the time, but and I know we have students who need credit recovery, but I hope we're going to be doing other things in addition to just having them work on concepts that they didn't get and having them do that in the same way that they would have been doing it before. So Dr. Woodward, I can tell you just really want to say something.
So I would love to. Thank you, President Larson. Today, my team and I spent quite a bit of time reviewing 47 summer enrichment grants that were written by teachers and by staff members, and it's for those primary purposes of connections with students. Some really innovative opportunities for camps for our kiddos this summer, and so hopefully we can continue to fund those fun, engaging activities that also do tie into the academics, but it's different. It's not completely the same. And so I just wanted to share that because that was our day, and so we're excited to roll that out.
I appreciate that because I really think that, honestly, that's one of the best ways to get kids who have disengaged interested again. And embedding the curriculum or embedding the concepts that they need to be learning into something that's really engaging is, as our teachers already know, is just really a super effective way. So thank you for that. So I just really wanted to say appreciation for all of the hard work that I know. Again, it's great to have additional dollars from the state, but the manner in which they come sometimes poses additional challenges. So, Kelly? Oh.
I just want to make a couple comments. I don't want to be repetitive, but I do want to applaud Cabinet and staff and everyone for the hard work that had to be put together for this. I know it's been a tremendous amount of work in a very short amount of time. I wanted to just reiterate kudos for 2E on the dyslexia and this notion for including a universal screening. Very, very important I can't wait to hear more about that. There's a lot of children that might be falling through the gaps. I wanted to just make a note. My impression is implied, but not necessarily stated explicitly. So would love to know a little bit more about which target areas you feel will best hit for our at-risk, marginalized groups of students. We know that there are some students that, minorities that tend to have more struggles. So, what stands out to me is certainly the Saturday school or the tutoring, but just wondered if there were any indicators that you feel that will be really identified to help those students.
So my colleagues could probably add on, but I would say that the idea of wrapping around students, wrapping around our at-risk students with a variety of different sorts of supports, in addition to the academic opportunities for them to engage outside of the school day, mental health supports, other types of ways that we can reach out to the families. Those are things that we would consider.
Great. I think that's really important because I know that we have some other initiatives to help support those students, and that we, as already mentioned, we want to make sure it's all cohesive. And the other comment I would just make is that there is some language about learning loss, and I would like to kind of extend it that that another way to think about it is that it's really acceleration. Accelerating our students versus remedial. All the research that in my work that I'm reading about recovery from COVID is not necessarily going back and reteaching, but it's really more about keeping those grade level expectations up, and as what has already been mentioned, the engagement and how we're keeping our students re-engaged in with the learning process and thinking creatively. And so I love the language here that's mentioned about, just that overall conversation that we've been having tonight about project-based learning, hands-on learning. I think that's going to go a really, really long way, so that we're keeping our students challenged in that mind frame, that it's not having to go backwards, but, keeping that trajectory moving forward. So I really applaud everyone and your hard work on this. It's really
I saw him. So I know
huge amount.
I know you need. I want to give Ahmad he has something he needs to say, but we also have we're running up on our 10 o'clock. So let me take a motion to extend the meeting, and then I'll come back to you. So we have about, it could be an hour. So what do you think?
I'll move approval of extending the meeting till 11.
I'll second it.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
And aye. So thank you. So we're going to 11 o'clock. All right. Mr. Shikolasami.
Yeah, I just wanted to acknowledge what you indicated. I think it is a very large challenge to be able to spend so much money in a very short duration, given such a short runway. I think that's one of the reasons I think we as a cabinet identified we need the infrastructure, we need the people who can oversee and do it, because there's just not enough human power available given the array of work that we're doing. The other thing is that when you do the work, and some of the work is going to be very much appreciated and liked, as you indicated, and to look at the array of funds that we're going to receive and be very strategic about them to extend some of the very good work that we do into the outer years. And so I think we kind of did that with some of the technology support that we got. We said, okay, we know that it's not going to be enough for 1 year. We need to extend them. And so looking at both the ESSER dollars that have a longer runway and looking at the other, in the May revise, as you may be aware, they're talking of additional type of one-time monies. Fortunately for us, the state is now realizing that they need to think a little further out. And so I think looking at those dollars and seeing those programs that really can help support for the next several years that will work, that's going to be one strategy that we're going to be bringing back as we look at budget adoption, because it's just too much. I mean, how much can you fit? And you really have to look at that long-term support for our kids. So I just kind of want to mention that that's kind of part of our strategic thinking as well.
If I could add, I'm pushing back a little bit about the concept of it being difficult to spend money in a short period of time. I don't think that's true. I think it's easy to spend money. I just don't know that it's spend it effectively, wisely. That's a lot more complicated. And I think that's why, the work that the team has done to put this plan together in ways that gives them flexibility, but really ties the dollars to the students and the needs of the students, and then brings the staff around to support them in a whole bunch of different ways. Yeah, we certainly hope that they'll extend the deadlines, because that'll give us even greater flexibility. But the reality is, it doesn't really matter if they extend it a little bit or a lot. At some point in time, the dollars are going away, and the activities that are associated with them will too, unless we find other ways to fund that work that we deem as being important. And so that's a state obligation, that's a local obligation. We have to figure out a way to keep those important things. I'm thinking about the work with dyslexia. I'm thinking about the additional counselors and mental health supports. Those needs aren't going to go away. The community, not just the students and the employees, the country, the world, has gone through an extremely traumatic experience together. And the impact of trauma is way more significant later on down the road. We've got to be prepared to deal with the trauma on the long term. It's not just going to be flip a switch, everybody goes back, and we're all happy. There's going to be fallout that we have to be ready to tend to. And so we have to be thoughtful, intentional. We do have to be strategic, as Ahmad said. But we also have to be thinking long-term. In other words, how are we going to extend these services? Because they'll need to be here longer than the funds will be available to us.
All right, do we have a motion?
I can make a motion to approve the Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant Plan as presented.
I'll second it.
Trustee Carrion?
Aye.
Makashi?
Aye.
Maher? Aye. Miller?
Aye.
Aye, as well. Thank you very, very much. All right, so we pulled 12.4, so now we're moving on to 12.5. Report, discussion, possible action on the CalSave agreement with Caltronics for graphics equipment and software.
Okay, this one, Amy Nichols, our Senior Director of Purchasing and Technology, has this one. Amy, are you available?
I am. Thank you, Ahmed, and good evening, members of the board, cabinet, and community. Thank you for the opportunity to present the administration's recommendation for the acquisition of new software and hardware for the district's graphics department. The district has offered graphics services to staff and community members for many years. These services include high-end paper reproduction in color and black and white, including advanced bindings, laminations, and other finishing services. We stock a wide variety of paper colors, styles, and weights, and can produce booklets, packets, posters, business cards, and more. We also offer limited graphic design services. Some of the department costs are apportioned throughout the district by charging job fees to our teachers and community partners. The job fees we apportion to our site and department budgets are nominal compared to the overall cost to run the department, so this is essentially a service that is provided to assist our teachers and staff with providing customized instructional and operational materials. The costs that we apportion to the site and department budgets are much lower than the costs that would be incurred if the work were outsourced to local printing companies. Although we do charge a surcharge for work that is produced for our community partners, these costs are also lower than what our community partners would pay to obtain the same service and product at local printing companies. Over the past several years, as many teachers in the district have transitioned towards electronic curricular resources and many operational activities have been made paperless, the graphics department has seen a reduction in work. As a result, efforts have been made to right-size the department so the district can continue to provide high-quality service, but at costs that can be afforded by the district given our many other competing priorities. At the start of this current fiscal year, department staffing was modified, and 3 of the 6 production machines we have utilized for the past several years were eliminated. The proposal that I bring to you tonight will result in further cost savings to the district, but will also improve the value of the service that we can provide by upgrading our equipment and will modernize the software that is used to submit jobs for reproduction and process our cost apportionment billings. The software will also allow our community partners to pay for their jobs using credit cards, which will lessen the workload required by fiscal and graphic staff to manage the external invoicing and payment processing. In short, we believe that this project will allow the district to continue to provide high-quality graphic services in a more efficient manner at a lower cost. This recommended project is an investment that will foster the department's ability to continue to support our instructional and operational staff. Tonight, I ask you to approve the administration's recommendation to enter into a 5-year lease with Caltronics for the acquisition of 1 upgraded black and white copy machine and 1 upgraded color copy machine. These 2 machines will replace our current fleet of 3 machines. Our analysis shows that 2 machines will be sufficient to meet the job levels that have been measured over the past 2 fiscal years, so both before and during the pandemic. Both machines will be equipped with a wide variety of finishing accessories. In addition to maintaining all existing finishing capabilities, we will be adding a new finishing option, which is the ability to do spiral binding. This lease will also include the costs associated with the migration of our current digital storefront job intake software, as well as our tech department developed and maintained billing system, to the modernized PageDNA software. This is inclusive of all associated maintenance and support costs for 5 years of the use of the software. The total fixed costs of the lease will be $222,000 or 5 annual costs of $44,000. No additional costs will be incurred for the software over the life of the lease. These costs also include all fixed costs for the 2 new machines. According to the terms of the lease, the district will be billed variable costs for each actual copy print or click that is produced. We will be charged 4 cents for each color copy and almost half a cent for each black and white copy. Black and white copies made on the color machines are charged a bit more, 3/4 cents per copy. The vendor will provide all toner and same-day repair services and parts throughout the life of the lease in exchange for these variable click charges. With the execution of this lease, the district anticipates an almost $10,000 cost savings per year over the current lease costs. In conclusion, the administration will continue to monitor the department's activity and intends to refine the job pricing we use to apportion costs to our site department budgets, as well as the fees we charge our community partners to continue to ensure a minimum cost recovery for these services. With that, I would like to open this up to your comments and questions and any comment by our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Questions? Yes, Mary Jo.
No, I just love that you can do spiral binding. That is awesome.
We thought so too.
All right, if there's no questions and we don't have any public comment on this item, I'll seek a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We're a little shy tonight. Mary Jo?
Aye.
Kelly?
Aye.
Steve? Mark?
Aye.
And I as well. Thank you, Amy.
We'll miss you, Amy.
I'm coming back next meeting.
Okay. All right.
All right, 12.6, this is report discussion possible action on an amendment to our legal contract with Fagan, Friedman, and Full Frost.
Okay,
Ahmad.
I'll take this one. Early on in this school year, we approved a contract for 3F for a not to exceed amount about $300,000. That was kind of like our initial anticipated cost. This has been a challenging year legally for us in terms of some of the COVID issues that we've had to deal with, some additional negotiations, personnel issues, as well as complex issues around some of our special ed program. And so we've been looking at what we have for now and then the remainder of the school year, and we're recommending that the contract be increased to an additional $230,000 for F3 for this fiscal year.
Questions by the board? No? I just appreciated the question. I had some questions in the Q&A, and appreciated the staff's commitment to keeping a closer tab on when we're running up against our not to exceed amount and bringing that forward to us in advance of the expiration in the future. With that, I'll move approval of 12.6.
I'll move approval of, oh, you already moved it.
I did.
I will second it.
I did. Trustee Carrion.
Aye.
McCaughey.
Aye.
Maher. Miller. Aye as well. 5-0. All right, 12.7, this is report discussion of possible action on the updated budget and implementation plan for, it doesn't actually say this in the thing, but I assume this is for I-1 when I was reading it.
Yes, it is. It's in the recommendation, but we didn't have it in the header. And so the Measure I-1 program during the last fiscal year has gone through quite a number of changes and adjustments, many of them positive and to our benefit in terms of cost savings. And so typically on an annual basis, we'll make these adjustments. And so I actually looked at it. It was about the same time last year we made some minor changes. So with that, I'm going to turn over to John Chwastik, our Director of Facilities and Construction, to review the details. John?
Thank you, Ahmad. Good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Dr. Haglund, Cabinet, and the community. Tonight, we're coming back. This is Measure I-1. It's the implementation plan. We did have it approved by the board back in June 11th of 2020. And this is a routine thing that we come back to the board periodically, usually within a year, to give any updates, whether there's a budget change in a line item or a project, or if there's added funding sources or cost savings, which in fact we have. And so I'll give a little bit of an intro to this, and then I'll turn it over to Eric in a moment. But with this, let's see, we've had very favorable market conditions when we've been bidding our projects. And so by doing that, we've actually had cost savings here and there, and in a whole bunch of categories, which I'll let Eric go into the multitude of them. There were 11 changes that will be discussed in more detail by Eric. But here are some highlights. Some funds were added to the program contingency from bond interest. The cancellation of E10 and its related effects to other projects, that had some impact to Lidexon, where we increased some capacity at board approval. We've established a future project budget of $12.5 million to build various capacity at sites, which needs to be determined, and the boundary adjustment process will help determine that. And we also had a $35 million set aside for a future school, and that came from E10. There's some from, like I mentioned before, savings from various projects. There's an addition of $3 million, the CTE grant for Foothill High School, which very much thank you to Josh Hill and also Glenn Sparks. and Josh had some photos of it. And I got to tell you, seeing those students tonight with the CTE program and what they can do with it, what they've already done, and now with these buildings at Amador and Foothill, it's just going to make them go even farther. It's very exciting for me to see that, what actually happens in there. So another item that we did that's a highlight from this is that Fund 40, we've removed the reliance on it, and that was $4.6 million. And then there was a little bit of a difference between the implementation plan back in 2020 in June and also the one they're proposing today. And so it is $149,347. And really the difference is it comes out of the expected amount of funding that we were planning on using from Fund 40. And so we're not going to use it, but we're not going to use any of the Fund 40 in the current updated implementation plan. So with this, I'll let Eric go into more detail, and he can go into the presentation of the spreadsheets as well.
Awesome. Thank you, John. I appreciate the introduction. And I will be quick because John covered a lot of the great items that we were going to touch on tonight. So first, just on the first page of the document, you can see this is Measure I-1 at a glance. It's our dashboard. You can see the top section is the funding source allocation. You can see as expected, Fund 210, which is the proceeds from the bond, is the major contributor to the program. Fund 40, you see no red, so Fund 40 has disappeared. That is able to now go back to the district and be spent at board direction. Fund 25, there's still a minor amount of money from Fund 25 that is part of the implementation plan. And Fund 210, which is the interest that's getting earned on the bond funds. And then finally, the state funding, big thanks to Josh and his team. That $3 million has been funded now by the state. We went through the funding meeting just about a month ago and got the thumbs up, and everything is looking good on that $3 million. So that has now been added to the implementation plan. The lower sections are some visuals that break down the spending for Measure I-1 that give you a view of it at a glance. Touching again, I'm going to go to page 3 now. Touching again really briefly on the changes. Again, John touched on most of them, but I'm going to touch on a few that he didn't. Fire alarm system, originally we had allocated about $16.427 million. Since then, we have begun, although we haven't begun construction on this project, we did begin investigation in the last 7 to 8 months, touring sites, going through existing systems and so forth. And we realized that we were planning on a little bit more money than we needed, so we had $1.745 million that can go back into budgets. We've realized some great savings on the fencing projects to the tune of about $500,000 that can go back in the budget. Again, the security systems, a redo of the scoping and going through and doing updated cost estimates and basing, working with our new security consultant allowed us to free up about $5.8 million from the security budget. Still a very ample security budget for the remainder of the bond of $7 million. Going on to the next one, and this and the roofing kind of go hand in hand because we've talked about the roofing projects and the HVAC projects quite a bit here at the board level and at the subcommittee level. We've realized some great savings because of some good bid results on both of those. Both of those were reduced by the amount that we've saved on bids in the first 5 packages of roofing and HVAC projects. Again, the Foothill project is the next one. We included the $3 million for the updated CTE grant that we know is now going to be funded. And then additionally, we included some monies in there as well because we are going to do the Foothill fencing project as part of the Foothill Science Lab project. It makes sense with all the site work that we're adjusting in front for the drop off and for the offsite it really makes sense to do that fencing project and take care of it all at once. And so we moved some money in there to take care of the fencing in that project as well. Again, we get down to the E10 project, where at board direction, we still set aside the $35 million, which was the original commitment from the board from that bond. We reduced the budget by the Fund 40 amount, and then the additional bond dollars that were set aside. Leidixon is the increase in budget. We increased that by $7.4 million. That again is based on board direction from the hold placed on E10 and the expansion at Leidixon. And then finally, actually, I'm sorry, two more. The Future Building Fund, which John did a great job of explaining, that's for future expansion based on the rebounding process. And then in the last calendar year, we've made $1.4 million on bond interest. And so that has gone into the program contingency to up the program contingency. So if we need to redirect a project, if we need to create a new project at the direction of the board, we can. That gets us to the last spreadsheet, which is a breakdown of all the projects. Again, John touched on it, that there was about $150,000 reduction from this to the last one, and that is just a function of zeroing out those Fund 40 dollars. Those Fund 40 dollars can now be spent on other projects at the direction of the board, and Fund 40 is less restrictive than the bond fund. So there will be some projects coming out of Fund 40. Again, Fund 25, we're still using a small amount of money from Fund 25, and then our bond interest right here. That is the review. John touched on a lot of it, and I think I tried to fill in a few gaps and a few other items that he did not touch on. So if anybody has any questions or comments, I'm happy to answer in conjunction with John.
And I'd also like to add the recommended action, which is the administration recommends the Board of Trustees approve the Measure I-1 budget and implementation plan. And we're here to answer any of your questions.
Questions?
I don't have any questions, just thank you. Very comprehensive, and applaud all the hard work that you guys have been doing. Just, I'm pretty speechless tonight. It's amazing. Thank you.
No further questions? I'll seek a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Trustee Carrion?
Aye.
Makashi?
Aye.
Maher, Miller,
Aye.
Larson, aye. It's really not a very late board meeting, but I think we're all flagging a little bit. All right, thank you very much for that comprehensive report and all of the hard work at coming in under budget on the projects that are going on so far. You guys you're rocking it. 12.9, this is report discussion of possible action. Oops, nope, 12.8, sorry. Report discussion possible action on the delegation of authority for the superintendent to enter into agreements for the following projects: the field restoration at Amador Valley at Foothill, the offsite improvement construction project at Foothill, and the painting project at Foothill.
Go ahead, John. Take it away.
Okay, thank you again, Ahmad. This is a packed one agenda item. We have these 4 items in it. It's asking for the same thing, which is the delegation of authority, and you've seen these before. We don't like to do them, but in this case, we're right before summer. A lot of stuff is flying in the air. It's kind of like a tornado. And you'll see between this agenda item and the next one, there are a whole lot of projects, especially at Foothill. So we do ask for the delegation of authority sometimes when the bids are very, very close coming in, when compared to the board agendas, the board meetings. And so this is a good example of cramming as many projects into the summer of 2021 as we can. And so the 4 projects, as mentioned, were the 2 field restoration projects at both of the high schools, Amador and Foothill, the painting project at Foothill, and then the offsite improvement construction at Foothill. There's the next agenda item, we'll talk about the onsite improvement, which are very, very tightly coordinated with. And so going into where we are now in each of these 4 items, the pre-bid walks were held, and the field restoration projects, we had to rebid those. And so that's why we're coming back, or actually we're in the process of rebidding them. The 2 high school projects didn't come in on budget just recently, and we only had really 1 bidder. We had 2 bidders bid, but 1 was valid. It's just it was over budget. So we had to rebid it. But in this case, we didn't have a mandatory job lock. We're trying to get more bidders to bid. And we did have 3 contractors that were interested. They have submitted some questions and things. And so then going to the painting project, at the mandatory bid walk, we had actually 12 potential bidders. That's really good. And we had a good response also with some of our other painting projects. So we're anticipating a very competitive bid on that one. The offsite at Foothill for those improvements, we just held that. And that is, we had 9 contractors show up. 8 of those were general contractors and 1 was a signal contractor. That again is a very good showing. So we're feeling confident that we're going to get some good bids on these. The bids are due for the field restoration projects on Wednesday of next week, which is the 26th, and that's why we're doing the delegation of authority. The painting project bids on the 27th, and then the offsite improvements at Foothill are bidding the beginning of June, which is June 3rd. Each of these agreements we brought back to the Board of Trustees for ratification at a later date. And the recommendation action is that the administration recommends the Board of Trustees approve this one-time delegation of authority for the superintendent to enter into an individual agreements for the following. And I got to go into each one. Field restoration project at Amador Valley High School, not to exceed amount of $175,000. The second one, the field restoration project at Foothill High School, is not to exceed amount of also $175,000. The painting project at Foothill High School is a not to exceed amount of $500,000. And the offsite improvement project at Foothill is a not to exceed amount of $1.5 million. So if anyone has any questions, I will answer them for you.
But before they take action, I just wanted to make sure that the board is also aware that on the off-site improvement project at Foothill, the city is also contributing towards that project. I can't remember the exact dollar amount, but it's around, I believe, $800,000 that they are contributing towards that project. So that is a joint project with the city.
Questions for John? All right, I'll seek a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the one-time delegation. I'll make a motion to approve this one-time delegation of authority for the superintendent to enter into the individual agreements for the items already listed.
I'll second, and I'll say aye.
Aye.
Maher, Miller.
Aye.
Larson, aye. 5-0. I almost said no. I'm just kidding. All right, so 12.9, report, discussion, and possible action on change order number 1 for the on-site drop-off improvements for mid-state construction for the portable replacement and new science building projects at Foothill High School.
Okay, this one is tightly coordinated with the off-site improvements at Foothill High School. And in just in a moment, I will show you how many projects that are basically going on at Foothill this summer, especially. And I just wanted to reiterate, I was totally floored and impressed with the students in the CTE program. It is just so neat to see those programs that I never had the opportunity to have other than wood shop, metal shop, electrical shop, and art. So just wanted to say that, high five to them all. The Foothill project is a very fast-paced, complex project that has several moving parts that are all working together. The project also exemplifies how many projects you can pack into one project, most of them over the summer. And then the on-site drop-off has been tightly coordinated with the design that was largely influenced and actually driven by the city for the off-site improvements. So that took a lot of work, a lot of back and forth, and we're still working out some of their comments even as we're bidding, the city's comments, that is. Included in the on-site scope is the added requirements from DSA for site access, and then some fencing items too that Eric had mentioned. There was a little bit of a budget increase from the bond from the fencing project into the project that we're doing now at Foothill to accommodate these fences that are going up primarily on the south side, which is all of Foothill Road, and then on the east side, which is the senior parking lot area. There's pretty extensive ADA upgrades with ramping from the classroom buildings into that hill, the little sloping hillside, and then getting it fully accessible to the buildings down the slope. And so that's where a lot of the cost is actually coming in on this change order. Just to kind of give you an idea of how many projects are on this site that are working concurrently, we have, of course, the original two-story classroom buildings, of which there's two. We have the third classroom building, which is two-story, that has been added because of the $3 million that Josh Hill had so faithfully run and gotten for everyone. So we've added that building. And there's also some CTE upgrades to the existing buildings, the existing plan that is, that's being built right now. Such as electrical outlets and built-in features as well. The on-site drop-off improvements are included. The off-site coordination, and that project itself is ongoing concurrently. The painting project, which will engulf the entire campus. And then there's the field restorations on 4 of the varsity and the junior varsity baseball fields. We also have some minor admin office modifications. These were due to DSA. We had to relocate the front door. So now the entrance to the campus will be much more visible. You'll know where to enter into the admin building. It'll also help the security of the site to where anybody that's the public would have to go through the office, then to get inside the fence. And so that's actually the whole purpose of the fencing and a good design practice. We have also the security and video camera project going on, and it's ongoing right now at Foothill and at Amador. Will be finished before the summer's over. The technology upgrades, which has been such a big component district-wide, which includes the phones and the clocks and the speakers and the technology and the infrastructure, and then the classroom AV, the technology incorporated there. This is one busy site. So I just wanted to mention that. The Foothill project also remains on budget. We had a contingency built into the project contingency, so we have not gone outside of that. No, this is a change order to the project outside of the built-in contingency, but it's within the project budget. And so that's what I wanted to mention. The recommended action is the administration recommends the Board of Trustees approve the change order for Midstate Construction for the on-site drop-off improvements. If you have any questions, please ask.
Questions? All right. Steve, go.
Put your microphone on.
I make a motion that we accept 12.9, action 2 for order number 1 for the on-site drop-off improvements for Midstate Construction for the portable replacement and new science building projects at Foothill.
I'll second it.
All right, Trustee Carrion.
Aye.
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 Aye. I can't wait till we can go back to just voting, as opposed to doing a roll call every single time. You'll have to be able to see our faces and have people in the room, I guess. So thank you very much. Last item for action tonight is 12.10, report discussion and action on contracts for playground structures at Fairlands and Vintage Hills Elementary Schools. Is Mehdi with us?
I'll go ahead and take
Okay.
it. Make it real quick. So one of the first things when Mehdi was hired, he looked at all our playgrounds and brought in our insurance carrier Keenan, who does safety inspections for us, and they identified these 2 playground structures as needing replacement. And so we quickly worked on putting those together. We worked with a local architect to work with the school sites and to get input from all the staff, including the teachers and even the kids, on what they would like. And so at this point, we would like to replace these two structures this coming summer, and we'll continue our inspections at all the school sites and just be updating and replacing structures on a needed basis, so we're always ahead of any type of safety issues. So with that, we're requesting approval of the contracts for Fairlands and what's the other? It's Vintage Hills. And then these are through our CMOS contract acquisition process.
Questions?
I do. I'm curious to how do they play on this thing? I've never seen these things before. Do you know?
Is it the spinners or which one?
Yeah, there's a spinner. Yeah, both of the spinners.
Those are good questions, and I think what we'll do is we'll give the board a tour. I've seen some of them. The kids love these. These are kind of more modern structures, and they're just very playful and fun. And so we'll definitely would be happy to give a board a tour at the end of summer.
Or training. We'll give you training.
Does it move? That little octagon thing, does it move?
There's one spinner that does move, but the kids can sit on it, and so yeah. I'm not going to be able to go through it. I have to,
Can I bring my kids over to demo it?
Yes, you can.
And are they all access?
Demolish it or
Yeah, these are all compliant with the American Disabilities Act. Obviously, it depends on the type of disability you have, but it is. And we also have another very exciting project that is at Harvest Park. That's through our grant money, and that is, it's out to bid. We'll probably bring that back at the June 10th one, and that is an all-access special ed playground. And so that's been in the works for a while. And finally, with the team we have, we can move projects now, as you can see. So it's going to be a very busy summer. I would stay away from Foothill for sure.
And just to be clear, this is not Measure I-1 funds. This is from Fund 40.
Yeah, Fund 40.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Did we get the motion?
No, I said, do I have a motion?
Yes, I'll make the motion to approve this contracts with specified play equipment company in the amount of oh wow, that's a lot. Anyway, approve it.
I'll second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve item 12.10, the playground structures at Fairlands and Vintage Hills Elementary Schools. Trustee Carrion.
Aye.
Kashi.
Aye.
Maher.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. So board reports and requests.
Joan, I have one quick report. Okay. At the last City District Liaison Committee, most of the conversation centered on our SRO officers, and the June 8th meeting, I believe, is going to be entirely dedicated to discussing, looking at the draft between the city and talking about the SRO officers.
Great.
I have one request. Just based upon the process of the adoption of the curriculum, I'd like to bring up review of the board policy, really to kind of brush up on advocating for the involvement of more parental involvement and student voice with the adoption of textbooks. And so I guess maybe bringing it to the policy subcommittee or what, but I really feel really passionate to expand on that engagement process when we review the adoption of curriculum moving forward.
All right.
Yeah, we can bring that forward to the subcommittee.
Sounds good. I just have a quick report. So I guess it was last week. Time is going by so quickly. Dr. Haglund and I met virtually with senior staffers for the Assembly Education Committee to discuss the proposed bill AB 1316, which changes the rules around, well, a lot of things, in particular charter school accountability, but also more of what we were interested in was in the changes, possible changes to the rules around independent study. So it was, I think, a very fruitful conversation, and Dr. Haglund shared his experience in his prior district, and of course here with us, with the Assembly members, staff, and it was, I think, a productive meeting. I think they really heard the concerns that we have. So that was last week. So keep your eyes peeled for that. There's some upcoming legislation that we need to be paying attention to, and that's one of them. Also, AB 104, which is still hanging out there. But anyway, we are not adjourned. Open will be adjourned, but
I
we need.
have a quick.
Oh, you have a
report.
request?
Yeah, just a report. So last Sunday, I had the opportunity to go visit a little program that goes on around the Bay Area. It's a Girls Fire Club, or no, Fire, I forget what to call it. But anyway, they get high school aged girls to come to the fire training center that we have here. And they put them through basically what firefighters do. And the purpose is to, increase interest in girls in being firefighters. And it's run entirely by female firefighters, of which they make up 4% of all firefighters, by the way. I learned that, which was unbelievable. But anyway, it is really cool. And it is not something that, they're doing some light little things or watching demonstrations. They're chainsawing through wood, smashing in doors, climbing these 30-foot high, you've done it before, right? 30-foot high ladders and putting out fires with fire extinguishers and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I thought it was really good. And they have, multiple sessions during the summer to do that, or not summer, during the year, I guess, to do that. And so if you ever have a chance to go do it, it's really great. And I think it's a great opportunity for girls at the high school level to learn an interesting new hands-on task or job, a career, I guess. So anyway, that was great.
Yeah, great. So we need to adjourn to closed session. We will not have a report out. Shouldn't be very long. Our next general meeting is Thursday, June 10th. Have a good Memorial Weekend, everyone.